Chapter 2786. At this moment, in a mysterious place in the central cosmos of the main universe, a huge and majestic southern heaven gate stood in the void of the universe. Countless invincible sages walked out of the southern heaven gate and stood around it, emitting an unfathomable aura. We finally left that damned place. The abyssal power is really terrifying. It's not something our races can resist. If another 10 minutes had passed, even us invincible sages might not have been able to resist the erosion of the abyssal power. At that time, even we might have degenerated into abyssal demons. The abyss is indeed not a place we can stay. Those demons are simply blessed by the heavens and are invincible in the abyss. No matter what we do, we can't exterminate them all. They will always be a great threat to the main universe. Many of the invincible saints discussed among themselves. After an hour of fighting, their bodies were in tatters and there were bloodstains everywhere. It was obvious that they had suffered serious injuries. Even if they were trying to stop the abyssal kings, it was still a life-and-death battle between invincible sages. If they were careless, they might be doomed. Most importantly, if they were injured in the abyss world, the abyssal power would instantly corrode the body through the wound. That was an extremely serious consequence. Hence, every invincible sage had to be extremely careful to avoid serious injuries. Otherwise, they might have to stay in the abyss world forever. Fortunately, no accidents happened and they didn't lose anyone. Right, Dark North, how's the plan going? An invincible sage looked at Dark North sage and asked. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The other invincible sages also looked at Dark North. They spent a lot of effort to stop the abyssal kings so that the plan would succeed. If the plan didn't succeed, then it would be meaningless. The plan has succeeded. The demon lord didn't discover my tricks, but whether it succeeds or not depends on the will of the heavens, Dark North said. It's good that it succeeded. As the saying goes, man proposes, God disposes. Whether it succeeds or not depends on the heavens. Patriarch Kong stroked his white beard. The other invincible sages heaved a sigh of relief when they heard that. They had taken such a huge risk. If they didn't succeed, then the main universe would be in danger. But what's going on with that Wu Wudi? I heard from the abyssal kings that Wu Wudi secretly stole the treasures of the abyss. Is this your second plan that we didn't discover? At this moment, an invincible saint of the demon race questioned. The other invincible sages narrowed their eyes and looked at Dark North and the others, exerting a lot of pressure. That's not true. Those abyssal kings are just talking nonsense. Just completing the plan took us a tremendous amount of effort. How could we possibly have the strength to carry out the second plan? The Xiaoyao ancestral master stroked his beard and said mildly, besides, who cares about the abyss treasures? Each treasure contains abyss demon power, and the creatures in the universe can't use them. Isn't it suicidal to take them? You can't say that. Although most of the abyssal treasures are useless to us, some of them are useful. Besides, the anger of the abyssal kings isn't an act. The invincible sage of the demon clan narrowed his eyes and said, if you really take the abyssal treasures, I hope you can consider the big picture and hand over all the treasures so that the sages can divide them evenly. After all, we're taking a big risk and we can't just let you humans get the benefits. It's not fair. Greed appeared in his eyes and he wanted a piece of the treasure. Taoist friend, you're mistaken. This is the goal of the abyssal kings. They want to sow discord and shake the alliance of the all heavens with a few lies. Isn't that their goal? Patriarch Kong sages smiled faintly and remained unmoved. Think about it. That place is the end of the abyss and contains horrifying abyssal demon power. Even the invincible sages of the demon clan can't resist it, let alone the sages of the human clan. All the human sages who came through the southern heavenly gate are here. Do we have other ways to enter the abyss world? Even if we enter the abyss world, how can we resist the erosion of the abyssal demon power? This? The invincible sage of the demon clan was speechless and didn't know what to say. Indeed, even the invincible sages like them could only stay in the abyss world for 1 hour. How could the other sages stay that long? There were indeed other ways to enter the abyss world, which was to enter the outer area of the abyss through the entrance and then enter the core area of the abyss step by step. The problem was that it would take more time than 1 hour, it would take at least several months. However, which creature in the main universe could live in the abyss world for several months? Only the invincible sages like them could use the southern heavenly gate to teleport to the core area of the abyss world to survive in the abyss world for a short time and finish the battle quickly. However, since all the human sages were here, they couldn't hide it. Enough. Don't be fooled by the words of the abyssal demons. Don't even believe their words. If they succeed in sowing discord, the alliance of the all heavens and realms will be finished. At this moment, An invincible sage of the elemental clan stood up and spoke for the human clan. The other sages nodded. Although they were also suspicious, they couldn't say anything without evidence. More importantly, they were at the critical moment of the war and didn't want to break the alliance because of such a small matter. Otherwise, the abyssal demons would laugh their heads off. "I'm sorry. I was too rash." The invincible sage of the demon clan had no choice but to admit his mistake. "It's okay. After all, who hasn't made mistakes? I hope you won't make the same mistake again." The Xiaoyao ancestral master hid a dagger in his smile. The invincible sage of the demon clan gritted his teeth but didn't dare to say anything. Half a day later, the invincible sages left. They gathered here only for the sake of the plan. Now that the plan was completed, they would return to the headquarters of their clans. The invincible sages of the human clan also returned to the headquarters of the human clan. "How was it? Did you send a message to ask that brat what happened? Did he do it or not?" The Xiaoyao ancestral master turned and looked at Dark North Saint. The other patriarchs also looked at Dark North Saint curiously. Chapter 2787. "I did." Dark North Saint had a strange look on his face. "Oh, then how did he answer?" The Xiaoyao ancestral master and the others all looked at Dark North Saint curiously. "He did not answer, nor did he pick up my call. All he said was, 'I didn't do it.'" Speaking up to this point, Dark North Sage's mouth twitched. He was speechless. "Bullshit. You're just trying to expose yourself. We haven't even started asking and you're already saying that he didn't do it. You only know how to talk nonsense here." Patriarch Emptiness bared his teeth. The corners of the other patriarchs' mouths twitched. Their hearts were as clear as a mirror. Although it was just a short sentence, it had already revealed a lot of information. Wu Wudi was obviously Xia Ping, and he had really entered the abyss world. Interesting. What method did this kid use to resist the corrosion of the abyssal energy? The Xiaoyao ancestral master stroked his white beard curiously. If humans could master this ability, the threat of demons in the abyss would be greatly reduced. "I don't know. Maybe he has some kind of artifact on him that can resist the erosion of the abyss, or maybe he's proficient in some kind of secret technique. However, I don't know where this little bastard has gone, so I'm afraid we'll have to wait a while before we can ask him." Dark North Saint guessed. "Forget it, this is just a small matter. How are your injuries, Biming?" Xiaoyao ancestral master stared at Dark North Saint. Although Dark North Saint's authority was terrifying and he wouldn't die in battle, it didn't mean that his injuries would disappear. Instead, they would accumulate. Of course, compared to ordinary sages, Dark North Sage's ability to recover from injuries was naturally many times stronger. As long as it was not a fatal injury, it would be difficult for him to suffer much damage. "Fortunately, I didn't receive any fatal injuries. I'll be able to recover after some time." Dark North Saint smiled faintly. "That's good." The Xiaoyao ancestral master and the others heaved a sigh of relief because the war with the abyss demons was imminent. If Dark North Saint died, it wouldn't be a good thing for the human clan. "We still can't be careless. Dark North, go to the human clan's treasury and take some healing medicines to speed up your recovery. You need to stay in peak condition for the time being." Ancestor Kong Kong said in a deep voice. "Yes." Dark North Saint nodded. At this moment, in the world of the classic of mountains and seas, Xia Ping sat cross-legged in one of the meditation rooms in the world of the classic of mountains and seas, cultivating. This time he had acquired a large number of godstones from the abyss, as well as abundant resources. He was now qualified to attempt a breakthrough into the Archean realm. In truth, he could sense that he was almost at the immemorial ancient state, full cultivation state right now. It was just like a pond that was filled with water that would spill out at any moment. Rumble, in an instant, Xia Ping immersed himself in cultivation. His soul communicated with the origin of the universe, and he felt as though his spirit was infinitely vast. He could sense the endless laws of creation in the depths of the void. The enormous amount of information and origin energy surged into the depths of his sea of consciousness as if they were free. Immediately, pieces of law of creation fragments rapidly formed in the depths of his sea of consciousness. In the end, 3,000 fragments of the law of creation appeared in the depths of his sea of consciousness, and he achieved perfection. Dong. Just as the law of creation reached the perfect state, Xia Ping discovered that his body, magic power, and soul all produced a strange vibration, causing the laws of the universe to resonate. He seemed to sense the endless black holes in the depths of the universe, and the end of the black holes seemed to be the white holes. The black holes devoured the endless power of pure yang, and the white hole spat out the endless power of pure yin. One black and one white, one yin and one yang, like the 8 trigrams of the universe, formed the chaos. Vaguely, Xia Ping felt the magic power in his body seemed to circulate along the path of the power of yin and yang. It kept vibrating, and the endless mysteries of the law circulated in the depths of his sea of consciousness. Walala, time law, space law, creation law, and many other laws started to circulate crazily, fusing into the domain of creation that spread out from his body. The domain of creation, which was originally illusory, was now condensed and completely solidified. It was as though from illusory to reality, from nothingness to existence, and formed the embryonic form of the world domain. However, this world was still empty. It was chaotic and nothing existed. It was filled with dead silence. Boom, in an instant, endless information of the law, magic power, and even soul and bloodline power gathered together, condensing rapidly and turning into a seed. The seed was the seed of the world. It was dark gold in color, and it released endless light. It was like a sun that lay across the empty world domain. With a crack, the seed of the world shattered, and a giant walked out from within. Its head reached the sky, and its feet stood on the ground. Its body emitted frightening ripples of the law, as though it was Pangu who split the heavens and earth apart. The giant appeared in this world and let out a roar. A sky-splitting axe seemed to appear in its hand, and it fiercely chopped at the world. Dong. In an instant, a terrifying cold light split the chaotic world in half. The chaotic world was instantly split, and it seemed to be divided into heaven and earth. Clear air rose to form the sky, and turbid air fell to form the earth. Endless chaotic air currents spread out in all directions, affecting the entire world. Walala, the giant that had created this world, seemed to have completed its mission. The axe also exhausted all of its power. It collapsed on the ground. In an instant, the 2 eyeballs of the giant flew out. One turned into a sun, and the other turned into a moon hanging in the sky. Its blood vessels formed rivers, densely covering every corner of this world, forming a dense network of water. Every inch of its skin turned into a mountain range, stretching out endlessly, crisscrossing, majestic and majestic. Every strand of its hair turned into plants. Trees, weeds, and flowers grew all over the mountains. It was a verdant and lush scene. Every tendon was the land, its muscles were the soil, its hair was the stars, its fur was the plants, its teeth and bones were the stones, its essence was the pearls and jade, its sweat was the rain, and all the insects on its body were affected by the wind, turning into the Li Su. The entire world seemed to have been formed at this moment. Is this the world laws, the world domain? Xia Ping's mind was immersed in the scene of the world being created. It was as though he had transformed from the creation laws into the world laws, grasping the power to create the world, and comprehending the structure of the world. With his body as the center, a huge world domain took shape, covering an area of who knew how many light years. It was as though within the area covered by this world domain, all life was under his control, and all the laws were unable to shake it in the slightest. It was as though he was the ruler of this world. Chapter 2788. No, that's not right. I haven't broken through completely. At that moment, Xia Ping's eyes lit up. He realized that his powers and realm had not stabilized at all. He was still in the process of breaking through. If he was an ordinary ancient sage, forming a world would be considered a success. However, he was different. He cultivated the Panwu true scripture and had a total of 9 primordial spirits. In terms of soul power, he was at least 9 times stronger than ordinary ancient sages. The Panwu true scripture was naturally the top secret scripture in the universe. It could allow living beings to cultivate 9 primordial spirits. It was unheard of and allowed sages to master incredible soul power. However, it was also because of this that breaking through was not something ordinary sages could imagine. He had such powerful soul power and combat power that far surpassed sages of the same level. He had a total of 9 primordial spirits. Each primordial spirit would open up a world. Therefore, he needed to open up a total of 9 worlds in the depths of his sea of consciousness. It was also because of this that it was much harder for him to break through than ordinary ancient sages. Whether it was in terms of accumulating resources or understanding of laws, he needed to surpass ordinary ancient sages by more than 100 times. Otherwise, he would not have been able to break through from the immemorial ancient realm to the immemorial ancient realm. Fortunately, Xia Ping had many treasures on him. He had also plundered the treasure vault of the abyss world and obtained a large number of divine stones. Otherwise, he would not have been able to support such a huge energy gap. Ordinary ancient sages like this would probably be stuck in this realm for millions of eras. No, I can't stay in the world of the classic of mountains and seas to break through. I have to return to the real universe. The origin energy here is completely insufficient. Xia Ping sensed that the origin energy in the world of the classic of mountains and seas was completely insufficient. After all, the classic of mountains and seas was only a supreme sage artifact. Although it could communicate with the origin energy of the universe, it could not compare to having one's real body in the universe. There was a layer between them, and the efficiency of cultivation would be much slower. It might be enough to open up a world. However, he needed to open up a total of 9 worlds. The origin energy needed was not something the classic of mountains and seas could provide. He flashed and left the world of the classic of mountains and seas in an instant. Then Xia Ping's body appeared in the universe's vacuum. He sat cross-legged in the vacuum and began to operate the powers in his body. He began to open up the worlds in the depths of his sea of consciousness. Whooshed with Xia Ping's body as the center, the endless cosmic origin energy began to spin violently, as if forming an energy storm, spreading for hundreds of thousands of light years. When the spinning speed of the origin energy reached its limit, it turned into a gigantic black hole with a diameter of tens of thousands of light years. Under such a black hole, a terrifying devouring power was generated. The universe origin energy and the laws of the universe were all swallowed up. The surrounding planets, even the continents, meteorites and other things were completely devoured by this black hole. Nothing was left in the surrounding void of the universe. Everything was swept clean and disappeared without a trace. In fact, there was not just one black hole like this, but a total of 9 black holes with a diameter of tens of thousands of kilometers. 9 gigantic black holes lay across the void of the universe, lined up in a row. They were just like 9 incomparably huge dark suns standing side by side in the universe, emitting endless devouring power. This was like the most terrifying astronomical phenomenon in the universe. All the nearby continents, planets, meteorites and other things were devoured by the black hole, leaving nothing behind. Vaguely, there seemed to be an indomitable giant in the center of each of the 9 huge black holes. At this moment, many living beings in the distance passed by this place. Separated by hundreds of thousands of light years, they saw this shocking scene, and all of them were dumbfounded. Of course, they were only in the outer region of the black hole and had no way of entering the inner region, nor could they see Xia Ping. After all, the outer region and the inner region were separated by hundreds of thousands of light years. Even if one walked at the speed of light, it would take hundreds of thousands of years. How could ordinary living beings see inside? Even ordinary sages would find it difficult to discover what was going on. Only an invincible sage might be able to discover something fishy if he unleashed his magical powers with all his might. Oh my God, what is this? Why are there 9 black holes in this place? Some people who passed by in spaceships were dumbfounded and shocked. Fortunately, they only passed by the outer region and did not get close. Otherwise, they would have been completely devoured like the nearby planets, continents, and meteorites, turning into dregs. What kind of cosmic phenomenon is this? 9 black holes standing side by side. This doesn't make sense. The group of people was in disbelief. They racked their brains and recalled all the astronomical knowledge they had learned in the past, but none of them corresponded to this astronomical phenomenon. Quick, let's leave quickly. This isn't an ordinary astronomical phenomenon. It's a sage cultivating. At the very least, he's an immemorial sage or maybe even an invincible sage. An ordinary sage also passed by, and his expression changed drastically. He could feel that this world-shaking aura seemed to be able to devour everything. It was as though even if an immemorial sage were to approach this place, he would be devoured cleanly, leaving not even his bones behind. This was a magical power that was simply unimaginable to him. Just by looking at it from the outer region, he felt his heart palpitating, and a feeling of being invincible rose in his heart. He couldn't imagine that if such a sage attacked with all his might, he would be able to easily destroy a great thousand world. It can't be, right? It's a sage cultivating. What kind of sage could produce such a world-shaking phenomenon? Many people were incomparably curious. They had never seen such a phenomenon before. Moreover, this was actually an astronomical phenomenon produced by the cultivation of a sage. How shocking was this? Fuck, a bunch of trash, why are you still talking nonsense here? What kind of sage is this? Why aren't you running away? Do you want to die? If we anger this sage who's cultivating, we'll all die. That ordinary sage cursed loudly. He wasn't a bunch of idiots. He naturally knew that if he stayed in the cultivation place of another sage for a long time, he would be seen as an enemy by the other sage who was plotting against him. This was a great taboo in cultivation. Therefore he didn't want to stay in this place for too long, lest he was mistaken as an enemy by that terrifying sage and be smacked to death with a palm, turning into ashes just like that. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Hearing these words, the people who passed by didn't dare to stay here. Of course they knew that it was a taboo. They immediately didn't dare to continue watching the commotion and quickly retreated. Some sages who happened to pass by were also shocked when they saw this astonishing cosmic phenomenon. They also didn't dare to stay here for long, for fear of angering the terrifying sage who was cultivating in this place. Sogu website. Chapter 2789. The other place was where the angel headquarters was. At this moment, 3 invincible realm angels and many ancient angels gathered together. How was the trip to the abyss world? Will the abyssal demon tree threaten Lord's existence? A primordial angel asked. The threat of the abyssal demon tree is indeed unusual, but it's impossible to threaten Lord, an invincible angel said. That's good. The other angels nodded. They also felt that this was a matter of course. After all, their master was a supreme existence, and no creature could threaten their master. It was just an abyssal demon tree. In the eyes of other living beings, it was an extremely troublesome creature, but in front of the Lord, it was nothing. But the threat of the human clan is no small matter, especially the North Sea Saint who shone brilliantly this time. This person has just been promoted to the invincible realm not long ago, but he can actually hold back the legendary Devil Lord and come back alive. It's really incredible, the invincible angel said in a deep voice. Dark North Saint? This person is indeed extraordinary. I paid attention to him at the beginning and even tried to make him believe in Lord. Unfortunately I failed. Another invincible angel said regretfully. It said that it had once used a plan to make this Dark North Saint fall into a situation of certain death and force him to believe in Lord. Unfortunately that plan still failed. It's not just Dark North Saint. There's also his disciple Xia Ping. He seems to be a hidden monster. He's called the peerless monster of the human race in billions of eras. Though he's still young and only at the immortal realm, he'll be a huge threat in the future. An angel said. Besides the immortal Saint Xia Ping, there's also the ancient Saint Gurulai. Even the Fengdu Saint who killed many of our angels and ruined our plan. They're all big threats. An ancient angel clenched his fist, murderous. The potential of the human race is too great. This race is a huge problem for us to spread our faith. We should take advantage of the invasion of the Abyss Demon clan to get rid of them. Indeed. This race has many peerless geniuses. We can't underestimate them. In time they might become a big problem for us and ruin our plan. Seems like we really need to get rid of the human race. The angels discussed among themselves. No, the Lord wants to get rid of the higher-ups of the human race. Those humans are still superior lambs. If they can be tamed, they will definitely bring great faith to the Lord. An invincible saint said. So that's how it is. As expected of the Lord, he has great foresight. Humans indeed have great potential. If we can subdue them, they will naturally be a great help to our angel clan in the future. Indeed, as long as we kill the upper echelons of the human race and kill all the saints of the human race will naturally be at our mercy. Those lowly humans will not be able to withstand the attacks of our angel race. Seconded. Many angels could not help but nod. They had quickly reached a consensus. As long as they got rid of those human saints, the human race would naturally be easily enslaved by them. Suddenly, one of the invincible angels felt his heart skip a beat as his expression changed. What's wrong? Ludwig. Goebbels, an invincible realm angel next to him, asked. He noticed the change in his companion's expression. Goebbels, the aura of the saint of Fengdu of the human race who destroyed the plan of our angel clan for hundreds of millions of years seems to have appeared in the modern universe again, invincible angel Ludwig said in a low voice. The invincible angel Ludwig said in a low voice. He gently pointed his finger as if he had sensed Xia Ping's aura coming from a certain corner of the universe. And the aura on his body seems to be continuously strengthening, as if he is advancing from the immemorial ancient realm to the immemorial ancient realm. His power is transforming, Ludwig said in a low voice. He actually appeared in the modern universe again. Could it be that he came out from some secret realm of the universe? And he even advanced from the immemorial ancient realm to the immemorial ancient realm. How can his improvement speed be so fast? Could it be that he reaped great rewards from this trip to the secret realm of the universe? The remaining invincible realm angel, Helmut, revealed a cold gleam in his eyes. He was filled with murderous intent. He really cannot be underestimated. If this continues, I'm afraid we really won't be able to do anything to this human. The improvement of humans is really fast. On the surface, he seemed to be praising the saint of Fengdu, but all the angels could sense the extreme murderous intent on him. He was about to lose control of it. Because the stronger the enemy of the angel clan was, the faster he improved, it proved that the angel clan was in more trouble. Then, their determination to kill the saint of Fengdu would be stronger. Helmet, I don't think this is strange. The invincible realm angel, Goebbels, narrowed his eyes. This human has received the inheritance of the god of war. No one knows how many treasures there are in that place. It's normal for his strength to improve by leaps and bounds. If we don't stop him, I have no doubt that this human will soon advance to the invincible realm or even become a god. After all, the name of the god of war was famous in the last era of the universe. He was one of the powerful gods and should not be underestimated. He thought that it was normal for the human to improve by leaps and bounds in a short period of time after receiving the inheritance of the god of war. If there was no such gain, how could the angel clan be willing to spend billions of years just to get the inheritance of the god of war? There was even an invincible realm angel who died in the relic of the gods. With such a gain they were willing to pay such a price. In that case we can't let this human continue to live. Even if we fall out with the human clan, we have to kill this human. The human clan will not allow a new invincible realm saint to appear in a short period of time. The invincible realm angel, Helmet, clenched his fists. Where is the human? The angel Goebbels asked. The distance is quite far and the signal is vague. But after 7 days, we should be able to accurately find the specific location of the human saint of Fengdu. Endless data flashed in the depths of the angel Ludwig's pupils. Dense information flashed, as if he was calculating the specific location of the saint of Fengdu. That's good. Let's go. With 3 invincible realm saints attacking, this kid will definitely die. Not to mention that he is only an ancient saint, even if he really advanced to the primordial saint, he will definitely die this time. We have to be careful of the rescue of the other human saints. If we alarm them this time, I'm afraid there won't be a next time. Don't worry, I will block the void during the battle. I will never let this news get out. Let's go and kill the saint of Fengdu. The 3 invincible realm angels flashed and instantly left the headquarters of the angel clan. Chapter 2790. Rumble in the blink of an eye, a few days passed. At this moment, the 9 black holes in the void finally disappeared. Dong. At this moment, Xia Ping, who had been in seclusion, woke up. He opened his eyes and a terrifying aura burst forth, as though he could see through the endless secrets of the void. With just a single look, it was as though all the secrets in the world could not escape his eyes. I've succeeded. I finally reached the early stage of the archaic realm and comprehended the laws of the world. Xia Ping smiled faintly, feeling extremely excited. After such a long period of cultivation, he had finally broken through the immemorial ancient realm and reached the archaic ancient realm, comprehending the laws of the world. After reaching the archaic ancient realm, the 9 primordial spirits in his sea of consciousness first evolved, splitting the sky and earth, forming 9 worlds deep within his sea of consciousness. One world was a world of lightning. Everywhere was filled with the power of the laws of lightning. Endless lightning flickered incessantly in this world. The pure power of lightning formed mountain ranges, oceans, rivers, and even all sorts of lightning plants. There were even quite a few lightning creatures born in this world. The second world was the flame world. This world was filled with the enormous power of the infernal golden crow's flames. There were also all sorts of heavenly flames such as the earth heart flame, the drought demon flame, the life flame, the Buddhist karmic flame, the angel flame, the dragon flame, the star flame, and so on. These endless flames turned into mountains, rivers, and other environments. There were also countless fire creatures and even fire spirits. The third world was the astral world. This world gave birth to countless planets and it was like a small universe. Countless planets were densely packed together, filled with dense astral energy, and emitted an azure light. The fourth world was the Sky Dragon world. This world was filled with the aura of dragons, containing the thick power of the ancestral dragon. It was as though many sky dragons were born and roamed in the sky. The fifth world was the kingdom of Buddha. It was filled with golden light, and there seemed to be many Buddhas standing there, chanting scriptures. Endless Buddhist runes flickered, and it was like a pure land of Buddhism. Under the chanting of these Buddhas, a strong power of Buddha was born, as though it could purify all living beings. The sixth world was the divine elephant world. There were countless divine elephants in this world and every single one of them was huge. They stretched across the starry sky, as if they were giant beasts born in the universe. Every divine elephant contained terrifying divine elephant power. Densely packed laws of power appeared around their bodies. That was the purest form of violence, incomparably tyrannical. Furthermore, each divine elephant seemed to be carrying a world on its back as it slowly walked through the chaotic void. The seventh world was the Hell World. There were black volcanoes everywhere, spewing out thick smoke and lava from time to time, and the air was filled with the smell of sulfur. Terrifying demons walked in the Hell World, and endless evil spirits and vengeful spirits wandered here. The world was filled with the evil of the world and boundless negative energy. The eighth world was the world of devouring, and it looked like a terrifying Tautai. When it opened its mouth, it was like a massive black hole, continuously devouring everything in the world. All matter would be completely digested and refined into dust. The ninth world was the plant world. There were countless plants growing there and they gave off dense life force. At the center, there was a world tree that stretched across all worlds, symbolizing the exuberant life force. These 9 worlds were created by Xiaoping's body, and were formed from his 9 essence spirits. Is this the power of the world? Xiaoping clenched his fists and channeled the tremendous power within his body. He could feel a strong power being born within his body, flowing through his meridians, acupuncture points, and even every single cell within his body. This power was different from the power of creation. It was a higher level of power that was fused with the laws of time, space, creation, undying qi, etc. When all of them were fused together, the power of the world was born. One could say that a single strand of the power of the world could easily destroy hundreds of strands of the power of creation. In terms of quality, the power of creation could not be compared to the power of the world at all. Dong. In the blink of an eye, Xiaoping slammed out with a punch. The tremendous power of the world within his body gathered together, and the void before him exploded instantly. A gigantic black hole appeared, as though the entire universe was pierced through by his punch. Too strong. Xiaoping's eyes shone brightly as he was extremely excited. Even though he had fought with quite a number of ancient state beings in the past and had experienced how terrifying the power of the world was, how could it be compared to the comprehension he had gained from it? He felt as though he could casually clench his fist and throw out a punch. It was as though he could mobilize all the power of the great thousand worlds and explode it instantly, producing endless destructive power. How could any sage below the primordial realm withstand a punch that contained all the power of the great thousand worlds? To put it simply, the power of an primordial sage was equivalent to the aggregation of a great thousand world. As for ordinary primordial sages like Xiaoping, it was even more different. This was because he had 9 essence spirits that transformed into 9 worlds. It could be said that as long as he willed it, he could instantly mobilize all the power of the essence chi of the 9 worlds and blast it out. If such power were to explode, any primordial sage of the same level would instantly explode and turn into ashes. Not only have I given birth to the power of the world, but even the cells in my body have transformed. Xiaoping's consciousness seeped into every single cell in his body. Back when he was comprehending the laws of space, every single cell in his body had an additional strand of power of space, forming an independent space that could contain a massive amount of power. But now that he had leveled up to the primordial realm and comprehended the laws of the world, every single cell in his body had transformed. From the empty space, it had transformed into a mini-world. One could say that the countless cells in his body represented the countless mini-worlds. Even if the size of each cell were to expand by just a little, the amount of power of the world that they could contain was still extremely shocking. It was a power that the primordial sages could not even imagine. Is this the power that an primordial sage possesses? No wonder he's the strongest in the primordial realm, a top powerhouse that is only inferior to the invincible sages. The richness of this power is simply unbelievable. Xiaoping could not help but exclaim out. After leveling up to the primordial realm, he realized how strong an primordial sage was. It was far beyond the primordial sages. They were not even on the same level. He also realized that he could kill an primordial sage when he was at the immemorial ancient state. Just how monstrous was this? It was simply unheard of. No wonder the other sages were so shocked when they found out about this. Evidently, the ordinary primordial sages knew how unbelievable this was. Chapter 2791. The Golden Crow of Hell bloodline has also become more powerful. Xiaoping clenched his fists. He found that after advancing to the archaic realm, his strength had increased by leaps and bounds. At the same time, the Golden Crow of Hell cells in his body were also awakening crazily, from the previous 3 trillion cells to 5 trillion cells, which was 5 trillion cells. It could be said that the golden crow of hell bloodline in his body had awakened more than 70% of its previous awakening. It seemed that with a single thought, the golden crow of hell flames in his body began to burn, forming a hellish sun that burned everything. The power of the divine sense has also expanded. Xia Ping immersed his mind into the sea of consciousness, and with his body as the center, circles of the power of the divine sense spread out, spreading in all directions of the void of the universe. At this moment, the coverage of his divine sense had reached a range of 10 million light-years, and it was much more powerful than before. It seemed that just the power of the soul alone could easily kill an ordinary saint. Due to the increase in the power of the soul, his illusory power had also increased. From the previous 100 worlds with a single thought, he could now generate 500 worlds with a single thought. This was not only an increase in quantity but also in quality. His illusory power had reached an extremely powerful level, and he was afraid that it could affect the saints of the invincible realm. After advancing to the archaic realm, his strength had improved in all aspects. Beep beep. At this moment, the system's voice sounded. Congratulations, host. Because of the host's actions, you have aroused the hatred of a large number of demons in the abyss world, aroused their monstrous anger, and obtained a large number of hatred points. This time, you have obtained a total of 3,200 hatred crystals. I hope the host can continue to work hard. What? Hearing this, Xia Ping's eyes lit up. He also knew that this time he would definitely arouse a huge amount of hatred from the abyss world, but he did not expect to obtain 3,200 hatred crystals. This was simply an astronomical amount of money. He didn't seem to have obtained so many hatred crystals before. He was afraid that he had underestimated his actions this time. After all, he had seized the accumulation of the abyss world for hundreds of millions of years. As the saying went, taking people's wealth was like killing their parents. Moreover, the treasures inside were obtained by these demons in some extremely dangerous places in the abyss world after spending a lot of time and effort. Some treasures were even gone once they were lost. These were resources that could not be renewable. But now Xia Ping had wiped them all out. Not only had he destroyed their many years of hard work, but he had also severely damaged the battle potential of the abyssal demons, destroying part of their plans. The hatred of these abyssal demons could be imagined. They simply wished for nothing more than to tear Xia Ping into 1,000 pieces and even annihilate his entire clan. It would be strange if they didn't have such hatred. By the way, the hatred crystals on me have already reached 9,800. Now that I've obtained 3,200 hatred crystals, wouldn't it be over 10,000 in total? Xia Ping's eyes lit up all of a sudden. After reaching 10,000 hatred crystals, he would get a big gift from the system. That was why he would spare no effort to get hatred crystals and cause trouble everywhere. Now that he had obtained 13,000 hatred crystals, he had completely exceeded the system's rules. He would definitely be able to get a big gift from the system. Beep. Sure enough, at this moment, the system's voice sounded again. The host's hatred crystals have reached 10,000 hatred crystals, which meets the requirements of the system's gift to the host. Now the system's gift is being transferred, please check and receive it. Rumble. In an instant, Xia Ping sensed a huge amount of chaotic energy coming from the depths of his sea of consciousness. It was as if a dark wormhole had opened, and then something flew out from it. Xia Ping took a closer look and immediately saw an incomparably huge thing appearing in the depths of his sea of consciousness. It was a door, an incomparably huge door that was completely black. The door was engraved with densely packed patterns of birds and beasts, and it also contained endless evil spirits. It exuded a terrifying, dark, deep, and ancient aura. It was as if the evil spirits in the depths of this door could run out at any time, creating the night of 100 ghosts. The power of this door was not inferior to the Abyss Demon Gate and Southern Heavenly Gate that he had seen before. To a certain extent, it seemed to be stronger, more bizarre, and more unfathomable. Hell's Gate. In an instant, Xia Ping sensed the name of this door. It was the Hell's Gate. As the name suggested, this was the only gate that guarded hell. All evil spirits, demons had to go in and out of this place. It was this gate that guarded hell in all directions, preventing evil spirits from appearing in the human world. Of course, it also prevented people from the outside world from entering hell. Rumble. In the next second, Xia Ping's body trembled. His sea of consciousness received a majestic message from the Hell's Gate. Hell's Gate, Divine Weapon Status, Growing, Ability 1, Indestructible. It has the characteristics of immortality. Even if it is destroyed countless times, it can still be reborn countless times. Even if the universe collapses, the Hell's Gate will not be destroyed. it can still be reborn from ashes. Ability 2, Indestructible. It can absorb the endless power of the netherworld from the depths of hell. As long as it appears in hell, even demons will not be able to break its defense. As long as it doesn't want to open it, demons from the outside world will not be able to open the Hell's Gate. Only the Lord of Hell or the token of the Lord of Hell can open the Hell's Gate. Ability 3, Devour Evil Spirits. Its power comes from the souls of hell. The stronger and higher the quality of the souls it devours, the more powerful it will be. All the evil spirits that it devours will become its soldiers and fight for it. Even if these evil spirits are destroyed, they will be reborn inside the Hell's Gate. They will be indestructible. Ability 4, Hell's Boundary. As long as the Hell's Gate exists, a huge Hell's Boundary will be formed. It can protect a part of the world. The only entrance and exit is the Hell's Gate. Without the permission of the Hell's Gate, other places cannot be breached. This is the Hell's Gate that is being reborn after being destroyed. Its growth rate is almost limitless. I hope the host can make good use of this divine weapon. The system said. Hell's Gate. Xia Ping sighed in amazement. He immediately thought of how to use the God Artifact. If he placed the God Artifact in the Hell of the Green Lotus, he could instantly fuse all the Hell planes around the Hell of the Green Lotus together and form a small Hell barrier. In this way, even if they were to face another attack from the Void monsters, they would probably not be able to break through the defense of the Hell's Gate. This would also make the defense of the high-level Hell planes like the Green Lotus Hell even stronger. There would be no need to worry about the Void monsters coming to attack. One had to admit that this was a top-notch divine weapon. Chapter 2792. Rumble. In practically an instant, Xia Ping had refined the Hell's Gate. Refining a God artifact was an incomparably difficult task. However, with the help of the system, it had become much easier. As soon as he refined the Gate of Hell, he immediately felt that the Gate of Hell seemed to come to life. The gate rapidly shrank, turning into the size of an ordinary human. 2 cute eyes grew out of the 2 doors, and even 2 little feet grew out of the door frame. Then it quickly transformed, turning into a little lowly wearing a black dress. She was 1.4 meters tall, and there was a gate engraved on her forehead, emitting a mysterious aura, as if it was a mark of the laws. You are my master? The Gate of Hell blinked its eyes and looked at Xia Ping timidly. That's right. What's your name? Xia Ping nodded. Looking at the Gate of Hell, he was a little speechless. Why were the artifact spirits of the Gate of Hell all lowly? Wah! In an instant, the little lowly in black burst into tears. She cried so hard that she was heartbroken. But her cries were very terrifying, like the wailing of ghosts and the howling of wolves. It was as if there were billions of evil spirits crying in the depths of her body, feeling endless sorrow. With her body as the center, a series of terrifying sound waves were produced, shaking the void in all directions, cracking like glass. But the most terrifying thing was that her cries even penetrated the soul, as if it was pulling the soul into the depths of hell. Countless evil spirits crawled out from the depths of the void, constantly pulling his body. Don't cry. What are you crying for? I only asked for your name. Xia Ping's eyes widened and he knocked the little lowly's head hard. If she continued to cry like this, he would probably cry himself to death. He could feel the terrifying power of the Gate of Hell. Just the sound of her cries was enough to kill countless sages. If he was not the master of the Gate of Hell and was immune to the power of the Gate of Hell, such cries alone would probably be enough to seriously injure him. I forgot what my name is. After being knocked, the little lowly in black did not dare to cry anymore, but she was still sobbing. Her little face was red and tears were rolling down her face. I see. Xia Ping was suddenly enlightened. Although Hell's Gate had the characteristic of being immortal and undying, every time it died, it was equivalent to being reborn. Its previous memories would be wiped clean. Therefore, this Hell's Gate was equivalent to being reborn. She wouldn't remember anything that had happened before. Everything about her was still blank, just like a baby. Of course, compared to ordinary babies, she still knew a lot of things and some basic common sense. How about this? I'll give you a name. Since you love to cry so much, I'll call you Crybaby from now on. Xia Ping rolled his eyes and decided to give Hell's Gate a new name. No, I'm not a crybaby. Hearing this, the little lowly immediately protested. She widened her eyes and looked at Xia Ping angrily. She knew that this was not a good name at all. Then I'll call you Little Gate. It's easy to understand. Xia Ping said. No, this name is too ugly. The little lowly in black forgot to cry. She felt that her master was too unreliable. His taste in naming things was too bad. Then let's call him a crybaby. Xiaoping touched his chin. Forget it, I'll call you Little Gate. This name is quite nice. The little lowly in black gave up struggling. Compared to a crybaby, Little Gate was a good name. It was simple and easy to understand. Right, what abilities do you have? Xiaoping asked and looked at the little lowly. I can eat a lot. Hearing this, the little lowly in black said excitedly, no matter how many evil spirits there are, I can eat them all. To tell you the truth, no matter how many evil spirits you catch, I can easily eat them all. Right, I can sleep really well and I can fall asleep right after I'm full. I won't wake up even if lightning strikes me. Her face was full of pride, revealing a look that said, come and praise me. Why do you want me to catch them? Can't you catch them too? Xiaoping's mouth twitched. What kind of advantage was this? She would sleep after eating and eat after sleeping. Wasn't she a pig? What kind of advantage was this? This Little Gate was embarrassed. The main reason is that my stamina isn't good and I'm not good at sports. I will pant after a few steps. I basically just stand there and wait for food. Right, I have another weakness. I'm afraid of pain. It's best if you kill all those evil spirits before sending them over. Otherwise, I'm afraid I won't be able to eat them. Also, I like to eat cooked ones. If they're too raw, they won't taste good. She made her own feeding request. Although she could eat a lot, she still had high requirements for food. She didn't eat everything. Stamina wasn't good. She was afraid of pain. She only knew how to eat all day and didn't even know how to exercise. She would pant after a few steps? What kind of divine weapon was this? Xiaoping gritted his teeth and his face twitched. To be honest, he thought that he had struck it rich after getting the Hell's Gate. After all, most of the divine weapons he got before, such as the Book of Life and Death, Reincarnation Brush and War Horn, were damaged and their spirits were gone. This Hell's Gate could be considered a complete divine weapon. Although it was still growing, it was still complete and had a spirit. It should be a strong help. But looking at it now, this spirit was pure trash. As a defensive divine weapon, she was actually afraid of pain. What kind of defensive divine weapon was this? She wouldn't be so scared that she would immediately run away when the enemy attacked, right? No, she shouldn't be able to run away because her physical strength was not good. She would pant after a few steps. He had to raise such a guy. Who was the master? Could it be that she found a father to serve her? He felt that he had been cheated by the system. It actually sent such a trash. By the way, master, I have another advantage. My memory is not very good. I basically forget everything I say. I'm especially good at keeping secrets. If you have any secrets, you can tell me. Little Gate said excitedly. Forget it. You go back to the classic of mountains and seas world first. I'll look for you if there's anything. Xiaoping didn't want to talk anymore. He waved his hand and immediately sent the Hell's Gate back to the classic of mountains and seas world. Let this trash divine weapon stay in the classic of mountains and seas world to fend for itself. However, Azure Ox and Corinne were extremely excited. Their faces were flushed. Heavens, is this the legendary artifact spirit of a god artifact? It's really incredible. Perfect, it's really perfect. It's worthy of being the end of magic weapons. It's the realm that we yearn for even in our dreams. She looks no different from an ordinary life. Observe carefully. Maybe we can also find a way to promote to a divine weapon. Corinne and Azure Ox were both extremely excited. The two of them completely regarded the Hell's Gate as a senior. She was the best reference. Maybe they could get the opportunity to break through from it. Sogu Reading Website. Chapter 2793. By the way, I seem to have some divine artifact fragments with me. At this moment, Xiaoping remembered the large number of divine artifact fragments he had obtained in the Abyss world. Some of the fragments could be combined into a complete divine artifact. However, due to various things before, he had temporarily put it aside. He did not know what kind of divine artifact fragments could be combined into. He hoped that it would not be too much of a scam. Swoosh. Thinking of this, Xiaoping waved his hand and took out many divine artifact fragments at once. Whoosh, in an instant, the divine artifact fragments gathered together and seemed to have an instinctive reaction. Like memory metal, they automatically healed themselves without anyone controlling them at all. Originally, there were huge cracks between the fragments, but after they fused together, the cracks disappeared as if they had never been there. In just a moment, the divine artifact fragments had completely fused together and formed a whole. He fixed his eyes on it and saw that it was a huge purple hammer. The purple hammer was engraved with dense patterns of the law of thunder. It seemed to contain complete thunder source energy deep inside, emitting a terrifying aura of destruction. A hammer? Xiaoping was speechless. He did not expect the divine artifact fragments to form a hammer after stacking together. However, just by sensing the aura emitted by the hammer, he could prove that the divine artifact was not simple. It must be a powerful divine artifact that seemed to have unparalleled destructive power. Even after going through great damage, the hammer still emitted a terrifying aura, as if it was a divine artifact in its heyday. Unfortunately, without the existence of an artifact spirit, it would probably have died long ago. Even so, this divine artifact should not be underestimated. In terms of power alone, it probably surpassed the level of a supreme divine artifact. Boom, thinking of this, Xiaoping did not hesitate. He operated the massive world power in his body and immediately poured it into the hammer. His powerful soul power seeped into the depths of the hammer's core in an attempt to refine it. Whoosh, in an instant, the hammer produced a massive devouring power. Like dew after a long drought, it greedily devoured the endless world power in Xiaoping's body. It was as if the power of the world was making up for the lack of origin energy in his body. Fortunately, Xiaoping's dermic powers were boundless. Even the dermic powers that his soul possessed exceeded that of ordinary primordial sages by more than 20 times. Not to mention the fact that he had 9 primordial spirits on him. The power of the world they contained was simply terrifying and boundless. It could barely support the speed at which the hammer was devouring the power of the world. At the same time, because this hammer had long since lost its master, Xiaoping's refining process was extremely smooth. His soul strength instantly seeped into the core of the hammer. It seemed to be a crystallization of the laws of lightning. It was hexagonal in shape, like a purple crystal, and emitted dense lightning origin energy. Dong, in the next second, Xiaoping's body shook as if he had been struck by lightning. He sensed that his soul power had instantly refined the hammer, and he had gained control of the core of the hammer. Suddenly, a huge amount of lightning origin energy swarmed into his body as if it was free. The energy of each lightning origin energy was terrifying and boundless, as if it could split the void of the universe in half. Fortunately, he did not know how many times he had been struck by the thunder tribulation. He had gotten used to it as he was struck, and even formed a special thunder physique. Otherwise, if he had received so much lightning origin energy at once, he would probably have been electrocuted. The name of this divine artifact is Mjolnir's hammer. Xiaoping's eyes widened. He immediately obtained specific information about this divine artifact from the depths of the giant hammer's core. This divine artifact was called Mjolnir's hammer. In the previous universe, this divine artifact seemed to have been controlled by a Mjolnir. The other party had mastered the power of the laws of lightning and was a powerful god. Unfortunately, the Mjolnir had died during the twilight of the gods, and even the Mjolnir in its hand had shattered. However, due to the immortal characteristics of Mjolnir's hammer, even if it had shattered into countless pieces, if all the fragments of the divine artifact were gathered, it could still be restored to its original state. Unfortunately, compared to its heyday, Mjolnir's current strength was less than 1/10 of its original strength. It would probably take a long time for it to recover to its heyday's power. After all, the damage caused by the laws of origin energy could not be easily recovered. What a powerful lightning force! Xiaoping immediately grabbed the huge Mjolnir's hammer. Originally, this Mjolnir's hammer was extremely heavy. Even ordinary sages would find it difficult to lift it. It was many times heavier than a star. It was said that the material used to refine this Mjolnir's hammer was star iron. This was a special ore that could only be produced in the depths of the core of every planet. After hundreds of millions of years of pressure from the mantle movement and the erosion of the power of the stars, it could only be produced. Such an ore could only be produced on large planets, and each planet weighed less than half a kilogram. To refine such a Mjolnir's hammer, who knew how much star iron and how many resources would have to be used? Perhaps even an invincible sage would not be able to support it even if he were to go bankrupt. Only gods could be so extravagant as to use all their resources to create a divine artifact. Therefore, one could imagine the weight of this Mjolnir's hammer. It was definitely not something that could be easily lifted. However, after Xiaoping refined the Mjolnir's hammer, he found that his mind and the Mjolnir's hammer had become one. This huge hammer was simply as light as a feather and he could easily swing it. Furthermore, every time he waved it, it would create a terrifying destructive power. If the hammer were to smash down lightly, even a planet would probably be destroyed. Dong. In an instant, Xiaoping circulated the power of the world in his body and infused it into the Mjolnir's hammer. He gently hammered at the void in front of him. Suddenly, Countless lightning laws on the Mjolnir's hammer lit up. Countless tiny purple thunderbolts gathered together and finally fused into a terrifying purple thunderbolt. Boom. This purple thunderbolt blasted out and instantly tore the void in this part of the universe. A spatial crack that spanned billions of kilometers appeared, and the crack meandered. What a powerful force. Xiaoping was extremely excited. He could feel the power of this divine artifact. Just now he had only used a portion of his power, but after being converted by the Mjolnir's hammer, he had activated the support of the source of lightning and increased the damage by more than 10 times. It could be said that using this divine artifact he could use the smallest amount of power to cause great damage. Of course, the most important thing was that he had advanced to the archaic realm. His body was filled with the power of the world. Using the power of the world to activate the divine artifact was many times more efficient than using the power of creation. This was like a bicycle suddenly evolving into a plane. This was a qualitative improvement. Sogu website. Chapter 2794. In fact, this was the decisive difference between an ancient saint and an ancient saint. If an ancient saint could only utilize 10% of the artifact's power, then an ancient saint could utilize 20%. Just looking at the efficiency alone, it was unknown how many times it had improved. Not to mention, the ancient saint's comprehension of the world's laws had caused his body to undergo earth-shattering changes, allowing his body to produce a world esper that could contain a huge amount of world force. What a great weapon. Xiaoping was excited. Holding Mjolnir in his hand, he felt that with Mjolnir in his hand he could easily defeat any enemy. This artifact could increase his combat strength by more than 10 times. Beep! Just then the system's voice rang out again. Warning, warning, warning. There are 3 invincible sages of the angel race rushing towards the host's location. They will arrive in 10 minutes. Host, please be prepared to defend against the enemy. These 3 invincible sages of the angel race have an intense killing intent towards the host. They will not rest until one of them is dead. What? Xiaoping's eyes lit up. What is going on? Why did you only warn me when the enemy is so close? He didn't expect that he would be chased by the angel race not long after he advanced to the immemorial realm. Although he did bring a lot of trouble to the angel race last time, he didn't expect them to hate him to this extent. In order to kill him, they even sent out invincible saints. How highly did he think of him? The angel race's headquarters is very special. There is a mysterious force that interferes with the system's perception. Only when these invincible saints leave the headquarters can the system sense the hatred of these angels. The system continued, plus, the host is in the critical period of breaking through to the immemorial saint realm and cannot be disturbed. Otherwise, all the previous efforts might be wasted. Thus, this reminder will be delayed. Host, please be prepared immediately. This time it's not a small matter. Angel Race's headquarters. Xiaoping narrowed his eyes. He was getting more and more curious about the headquarters. What kind of place could allow such an incredible treasure like the system to block it? This isn't something ordinary people can do. To be honest, the mysteriousness of the angel race's headquarters could be ranked in the top 3 in the universe, on par with Gaia Paradise and other places. No one knew where the angels lived. Some people asked the angels, but the angels always said they lived in heaven. Forget it. 3 invincible saints? It's also a good opportunity to test my current strength. Xiaoping clenched his fists. If he hadn't broken through to the archaic realm, he would have immediately fled into the hellish realm to lie low for a while. However, things were different now. He had broken through to the Archean realm, comprehended the laws of the world, grasped world energy, and possessed a god artifact to protect him. His battle prowess had risen by who knew how many times. Even if he could not defeat the 3 invincible sages this time, he would not die. After all, he had various methods to preserve his life. Therefore he had no reason to retreat. He wanted to test the strength of these strongest people in the universe. He wanted to see if they were really as invincible as the legend said. Thinking of this, he revolved the world force in his body and swallowed the energy of the universe origin source. In a few breaths of time, his essence, energy, and spirit had recovered to its peak state. Rumble, in an instant, a few minutes later, with Xiaoping's body as the center, the area within a range of several tens of thousands of light years was enveloped by a terrifying power. It covered this part of the universe's void, forming an absolute domain. Densely packed angel runes seemed to appear in the depths of this part of the universe's void. They turned into many angel restrictions, forming a total of 1,800 densely packed angel restrictions that sealed off the universe's void. Under the seal of such angel restrictions, this place had become an absolute domain of heaven. No living creature would be able to escape from this space-time sealed off by the angels. Even the universe virtual network was completely cut off, making it impossible to send any information out. Boom. In the next second, the void in front of him split open, and an angel's gate appeared, emitting boundless holy light. It was as if it had become a sun, illuminating this dark part of the universe's vacuum. Wherever the angel's light went, all darkness would retreat. It was as if this place had become an eternal heaven, emitting scorching angel's light. Following this, from the depths of the angel's gate, 3 powerful demigod angels walked out. There was a golden halo above their heads. That was the angel's wisdom halo, a symbol of one's comprehension of the universe's origin laws to the extreme. Their bodies were extremely huge, larger than a star. There were also 12 pairs of angel wings on their backs. When a single wing was gently spread out, it seemed as if it could envelop an entire planet. Densely packed white feathers grew on each pair of angel wings. They were extremely pure, without any impurities, and they contained extremely pure angel power. It was as if any of the angel feathers that fell would transform into a world of heaven, purifying all impurities. Their eyes were also cold and emotionless, just like machines. No one could read any emotions from their eyes. It was as if they had reached a realm of emptiness, neither falsehood nor emptiness. Amazing. Xia Ping's pupils constricted. Even though he had been constantly overestimating the strength of demigod experts, the instant these 3 angel demigod experts appeared, they still brought him immense pressure. The universe's void in all directions seemed to have collapsed. Even light rays were distorted, forming densely packed void cracks. This was different from the human race patriarchs he had seen before. Back then, the human race patriarchs had been kind and had even restrained their auras. But now, these 3 angel demigod experts were different. They had come with killing intent and they did not conceal it at all. The difference was simply unimaginable. The instant these 3 demigod angels appeared, with their bodies as the center, a terrifying angel domain was produced. It was as if just by standing opposite them, they could rely on that vast, boundless, unparalleled angel power to crush all matter in this universe into dust. Even if it was a planet, they could easily shatter it into powder, causing the void of the universe to collapse in all directions, forming terrifying black holes. Their every move, every word, and every action contained heavenly might, representing the operation of the universe's origin laws. They could easily mobilize boundless origin energy. Even their bodies themselves were like miniature universes, as if they had already formed complete universe laws. They were independent of the universe, as if they were experts that had transcended the 3 realms. These were demigods, supreme experts that were closest to gods. They were also the strongest experts in the universe at present. Chapter 2795. Human Fengdu. In an instant, the 3 demigod angels appeared in front of Xia Ping. They looked down arrogantly as if no life in the world was worthy of their attention. Their golden eyes were filled with disregard for life. It was as if they were the workings of the heavens, high and mighty. The archangels of the angel race actually came out together. They really think highly of Fengdu. Xia Ping raised his eyebrows and looked at the 3 demigod angels. You have the right to do so. Archangel Ludwig looked at Xia Ping indifferently. To be able to advance by leaps and bounds in such a short time and reach the archaic realm, I dare not say that there will be no one in the future, but it is definitely unprecedented. Also, you have obtained the inheritance of the god of war from the previous universe era. In the future, you will definitely stand at the peak of the universe. It is normal for us angels to treat someone like you with great caution. He looked at Xia Ping as if it was a matter of course. In order to kill the enemy of the angel race, the highest level angels of the angel race had come out directly to ensure that nothing would go wrong. If this still failed, then the angel race really wouldn't be able to do anything to this kid. Human Fengdu, I, Archangel Goebbels, will only give you 2 choices. Archangel Goebbels looked at Xia Ping with a cold glint in his eyes. The first choice is to believe in my lord, join my race, and become a loyal servant of my lord. The second choice is to die and be destroyed in this world forever, turning into cosmic dust. These 2 choices, submit or die. What do you choose? He directly gave Xia Ping 2 choices. It was extremely overbearing. You only have 3 breaths of time to consider. After 3 breaths of time, if you don't surrender, you will die. The remaining Archangel helmet was filled with killing intent. He only gave Xia Ping 3 breaths of time to consider. Scram. Xia Ping only replied with 1 word. He looked at the 3 demigod angels indifferently. Did they think that just a few words could make him submit? Angel dogs, they were dreaming. Putting aside the fact that these 3 demigod angels might not be able to kill him, even if they really had the strength to kill him, he wouldn't submit to these angels. I see. Since you've already made your decision, then die. As soon as he finished speaking, Archangel Ludwig's eyes flashed with a cold glint. He grabbed with his hand and instantly took out a huge snow-white spear. A peerless saint artifact, the Judgment Spear. This Judgment Spear had once appeared in the secret realm of Sound Pattern Mountain and brought Xiaoping a lot of trouble. However, at that time, it was only in the hands of an ancient saint. Now, it was in the hands of a demigod powerhouse. It could be said that the pressure on Xiaoping was completely different. After all, he had completely comprehended the laws of life and death after reaching the invincible saint realm. He had mastered the power of life and death within his body, allowing him to unleash the full power of a peerless saint artifact. It was as if an invincible sword had fallen into the hands of an invincible swordsman. The power it could display was simply incomparable to that of the previous swordsman. Sinner, the Lord has said that he will bring you the judgment of death. Fall. Archangel Ludwig circulated the power of life and death in his body and infused it into the Judgment Spear. Immediately, all the runes within the Judgment Spear appeared, like a supreme scripture. In the blink of an eye, the Judgment Spear erupted with a scorching white light of judgment. It seemed to completely penetrate the vacuum of the universe, wiping out all sins. Even if it was a great thousand world facing such a light of judgment, it could easily shatter the great thousand world and bring about a doomsday-like disaster. Clearly, Archangel Ludwig was not joking, nor did he have any intention of holding back. He attacked with all his strength, intending to kill Xiaoping in the vacuum of the universe. He would definitely not give Xiaoping any chance to escape. Swish. In the next second, this terrifying light of judgment blasted out, forming a giant pillar with a diameter of several light years. It came crashing down and everything in its path was reduced to ashes. This area of the universe had long been sealed by the Angel Clan's restriction formation. All the fluctuations of the battle could not be transmitted out. Therefore, no matter how intense the battle was in this area, it would not attract the attention of the other saints. This was also the reason why the 3 demigod-level angels had made a lot of preparations to kill Xiaoping. Their goal was to make sure that Xiaoping would not have any chance of being rescued by the other invincible saints. Thunder God's Hammer Lightning Punishment. At that moment, Xiaoping also made his move. He took out the God of Thunder God's hammer that he had just obtained. Although he had just obtained this God of Thunder God's hammer, it could already play an important role. He mobilized the world power in his body and infused it into the God of Thunder God's hammer. Suddenly, countless laws of thunder in the depths of the God of Thunder God's hammer flashed, and the endless power of thunder gathered together, suddenly forming a purple power of thunder punishment. It was as if the God of thunder had come to the world, controlling the thunder punishment to punish mortals or even gods. Swish. A huge purple power of thunder punishment that was not inferior to the light of judgment blasted out, blasting toward Archangel Ludwig. It was tit for tat, not giving in at all. Boom. In an instant, the power of the thunder punishment and the light of judgment collided with each other. It was like a needle colliding with a wheat awn, producing a terrifying destructive power. The void of the universe in all directions shattered, creating cracks in the void like a spider web. What? Archangel Ludwig's expression changed greatly, simply unable to believe it. He sensed that the light of judgment that he had cast not only did not kill the human saint of Fengdu, but had even been blocked. No, it was not as simple as just blocking it. The power of judgment that he had blasted out could not withstand the power of thunder punishment, and was continuously pushed back, all of the power of judgment being crushed. Not good. With a boom, Archangel Ludwig was caught off guard. His angelic body was hit by the power of thunder punishment from the God of Thunder God's hammer, and his entire body was sent flying tens of millions of kilometers away. His entire body was surrounded by the crackling power of thunder, almost electrocuting him on the inside. The terrifying power of thunder punishment even drilled into his body, trying to destroy his internal organs. If he had been an ordinary saint, that attack would probably have been enough to seriously injure him. However, he was Archangel Ludwig, a demigod powerhouse who had comprehended the laws of life and death. Naturally, he would not be injured so easily. He channeled the power of life and death in his body, and in a breath's time he expelled the power of thunder punishment. Even the injuries on his body were instantly healed. If he had not seen it with his own eyes, he probably would not have known that he had been injured. Chapter 2796. This is the divine artifact, Mjolnir. How did it fall into your hands? Great Angel Ludwig's pupils shrank as he stared at the huge purple hammer in Xiaoping's hand. He could not hide the shock in his heart because this was the famous divine artifact, Mjolnir. Even in the previous era of the universe, this divine artifact, Mjolnir, was still a famous magic treasure. In the hands of a powerful god, it was simply invincible. However, according to the rumors, this Mjolnir had long been destroyed. How did it appear in the hands of this human saint, Fengdu? Is this one of the benefits you received after obtaining the inheritance of the god of war? No wonder you dare to be so arrogant. Do you think that you can compete with us angels with a divine artifact? Archangel Goebbels was filled with murderous intent, and his killing intent towards Xiaoping was boiling. Fortunately, they were extremely cautious and knew that even a lion would go all out to catch a rabbit. The three demigod angels had moved out together to besiege Xiaoping in order to make sure nothing went wrong. If they had been a little careless and sent the primordial angels to encircle Xiaoping, it would not have been an encirclement but a suicide mission. After all, the power of a divine artifact was not to be underestimated. It was a treasure of a peak race. One could imagine how powerful it was. Even the angels did not have much power. Even if this Fengdu saint was a little weak, with a divine artifact in hand, he would still be able to exert infinite combat power. Even demigod powerhouses would have to be careful. It's none of your business. Take my hammer first. Xiaoping could not be bothered to talk nonsense with these angels. With Mjolnir in hand, he was simply the reincarnation of the god of thunder. It seemed that he could easily communicate with the origin of thunder, and his magic power was integrated into the laws of thunder. Mjolnir, descent of lightning punishment. He was simply incomparably violent. Once again the hammer blasted down, shaking time and space. It was as if the vacuum of the universe had completely exploded, producing infinite destructive power. But more importantly, tens of thousands of purple lightning punishments erupted from Mjolnir. Each purple lightning punishment was like a giant pillar that could easily penetrate the vacuum of the universe. Such thousands of purple lightning punishments crushed down, simply wanting to crush everything and annihilate the three angels in the vacuum of the universe. Arrogant. Seeing this scene, Archangel Goebbels angrily roared. He was both shocked and angry. This human was too arrogant. He clearly knew that they were three demigod angels, existences that had comprehended the laws of life and death. But now he actually wanted to fight the three of them alone, fighting a demigod as a primordial being. How arrogant was that? Did he really think that the three demigod angels were made of mud? Rumble. At that moment, it took out a supreme saint artifact. It was a snow-white saber that radiated with the boundless power of light, as if it was a supreme treasure born from the origin of light. It shone with a cold light that could slice through the world. This was the angel race's peerless sacred artifact, radiant world-cleaving saber. This peerless saint artifact was an amalgamation of the laws of light. It contained the boundless power of light of the angel race, as well as the angel's origin energy. The sharpness that it erupted with was invincible. With such a slash, even a dozen or so greater thousand realms would be sliced in half. Could be said to be the strongest killing blade of the angel race. Kill? Archangel Goebbels held the radiant world-cleaving saber in his hand. Boundless light radiated from his body, as if he had transformed into a sun of holy light, dispersing the boundless darkness. He slashed at Xiaoping, erupting with a terrifying white saber light that seemed to traverse dozens of light years, as if it was going to slice the entire star domain apart. Even under the shroud of this origin of light, there was no sorrow, no pain, no screams, only endless peace. Anyone who was struck by this saber did not die, but instead ascended to heaven. This was like a saber strike of redemption. Human Fengdu, you must die today. The third demigod angel, Helmet, also made his move. He took out a huge golden bow that was engraved with dense golden angel inscriptions. This huge golden bow emitted a destructive aura that seemed to contain boundless destructive power. It was even more terrifying than the spear of judgment and the radiant world-cleaving saber. It was born purely for destruction. This was the peerless sacred artifact of the angel race, the Yang divine bow. Once upon a time, an invincible saint had besieged the headquarters of the angel race. At that time, demigod angel Helmet had taken out this peerless sacred artifact, the Yang divine bow, and shot an arrow at it, immediately severely injuring the invincible saint and forcing him to retreat 3 trillion kilometers. It could be said that this huge bow contained the dense angel origin power of the angel race. It was engraved with the law of killing, and it was indestructible. When the arrow was shot, it was like an explosion of the sun, erupting with boundless destructive power and destroying everything. Swoosh. In an instant, Archangel Helmet held the young divine bow in his hand and knocked an arrow. A golden energy arrow instantly shot towards Xia Ping, containing the power of destruction, piercing through everything. When this arrow was shot, even the scorching sun above the ninth heaven would be pierced and completely destroyed. Rumble. In the next second, Xia Ping blasted out the power of thunder punishment with Mjolnir, instantly colliding with Archangel Helmet's young divine bow and Archangel Goebel's radiant world-cleaving saber. These three destructive powers immediately collided like three suns colliding, producing unparalleled destructive power. Terrifying destructive waves spread out in all directions. At that moment, countless planets in this star field encountered such destructive waves and were instantly shaken into powder, disappearing into the vacuum of the universe. Fortunately, this was an uninhabited star field. Otherwise, who knew how many lives would have been lost? Dong. Xia Ping could not withstand such an impact. He was instantly sent flying by these destructive waves, retreating hundreds of millions of kilometers. It took a lot of effort for him to dissipate the destructive power. But even so, a trace of blood seeped out from the corner of his mouth. Clearly this attack had injured him. Archangel Goebbels and Archangel Helmet did not fare well either. The two archangels were also retreating hundreds of millions of kilometers, and a trace of blood seeped out from the corner of their mouths. Clearly they had also suffered injuries. However, such injuries were child's play, and they recovered in an instant. Human Fengdu, you really live up to your name. As expected of the great enemy of my angel race. You're just an archaic saint, yet you can actually fight against us demigods to such an extent. Even if you have the advantage of a divine weapon, you can't deny that your strength is not to be underestimated. A powerhouse like you can only be a friend, not an enemy. If you become an enemy, we can only try our best to annihilate you. At that moment, the three demigods looked at Xia Ping with completely solemn gazes. They completely treated Xia Ping as an evenly matched opponent and would no longer underestimate him. Chapter 2797. Idiot, take my hammer. Xia Ping could not be bothered with what the three angels were saying. He circulated the world energy within his body and once again smashed out with his hammer. Instantly, this hammer contained a heaven-rending, earth-shattering power, and the destructive power was many times greater than before. There were hammer shadows in all directions, covering the star field and the three angels. It was as if the three angels and the star field were about to be completely hammered into smithereens. He could feel that he could easily mobilize the lightning source energy with Mjolnir in his hand. With 10% of his strength, he could unleash 10% or even 100% of his destructive power. Every hammer strike seemed to erupt with the size of a star. Even if a planet were to be placed here, it would be easily smashed into pieces like glass. Not only could it mobilize the lightning source energy, but the hammer's destructive power also greatly increased the user's strength. This was the power of a divine artifact. A saint with a divine artifact could basically challenge someone of a higher level. However, divine artifacts were extremely rare. Even peak races would use them as their clan's dharma treasures. They wouldn't use them casually. Most saints would be lucky to have a sage artifact. Furthermore, there were very few peerless sage artifacts. Fool, it looks like you still don't know the true gap between primordial saints and invincible saints. It's a huge gap that can't be changed even if you have a divine artifact. The three angels sneered. With a thought, a life and death domain erupted from their bodies, covering the universe's vacuum in all directions. The three domains even resonated with each other and fused together, producing a qualitative change. This wasn't as simple as 1 + 1. It was simply increasing their strength at a geometric speed. Dong. In an instant, Xia Ping's Mjolnir smashed into the three angels' life and death domain, producing an earth-shattering sound. Ripples appeared in the void and shook everywhere. Ha! Xia Ping narrowed his eyes. He could sense that his hammer didn't seem to cause any damage to the three angels. When the Mjolnir's power struck the other party's life and death domain, it was like it had fallen into a swamp. It couldn't shake them at all. What surprised him even more was that the power of his attack was being devoured by the three angels' life and death domains. They were constantly being used as their own. He could sense that the energy consumption of the three angels was rapidly increasing. It seems that you finally know some of the abilities of the invincible saint. Archangel Ludwig looked at Xia Ping calmly. Sages who have comprehended the laws of life and death have already grasped the power of life and death. They have comprehended the mysteries of the conversion between life and death, forming a balance between life and death. If the enemy's death power comes into contact with the life and death domain, it will instantly be converted into the life power in our bodies, continuously replenishing our magic power. At the same time, the life force in our bodies can also be quickly transformed into death force, which can be used to launch fierce attacks against the enemy. The transition between life and death has long made us invincible. What? Hearing these words, Xia Ping's pupils shrank. Although he had long known that the invincible saint was terrifyingly strong and could be called invincible in the universe, he did not know why the invincible saint could be called invincible in the universe and no one could defeat him. At this moment he finally understood some of the mysteries. A very important reason was the life and death domain and the tyrannical laws of life and death that the invincible saint possessed. For the invincible saints who had comprehended the mysteries of life and death, they had the ability to convert all the enemy's attacks into life power and then replenish their own energy consumption. In this way, which saint in the world could defeat them? Even if there were more saints attacking together, it would be useless. This was because the transition between life and death was like the great shift of heaven and earth. The invincible saint could easily reflect the enemy's attacks back at them. On the contrary, the more enemies there were, the more terrifying the combat power of the invincible saint would be. The magic power in their bodies was simply endless. Even if they fought for billions of eras, the magic power in their bodies would not be consumed much. Instead, it would become more and more powerful. To kill an invincible saint, unless one could instantly break the balance between life and death and break the boundary between life and death, it would be impossible to kill an invincible saint. Apart from this, the invincible saints who had comprehended the laws of life and death could even pull out the souls of the dead from the river of fate and resurrect them, reversing the power of life and death. However, even with the strength of an invincible saint, they could only resurrect life forms below the saint level. Life forms above the immortal saint level basically could not be resurrected. This was because resurrecting the dead was a taboo in the universe. One would suffer the backlash of the universe's origin. The more powerful the resurrection, the more severe the backlash. If one wanted to resurrect an immortal saint, the invincible saint would probably die from the backlash of the universe's origin in an instant. No one could save him. Even if one wanted to resurrect a mortal in the lightning tribulation realm, the invincible saint would suffer unimaginable injuries. It would probably take billions of eras for them to recover from their injuries. They would also be cut off from advancing further. Therefore, the invincible saints never used this ability. The gains did not make up for the losses. The laws of life and death? Xia Ping narrowed his eyes. With just a single touch, he could sense the suffocating power of the invincible saint. The power of the laws that suppressed everything. If he did not have a divine artifact on him, he would probably have to run away. Even if he could temporarily contend with the invincible saint, it would be useless. The more the invincible saint fought, the stronger the invincible saint would become. Sooner or later he would be completely suppressed. It could only be said that the invincible saint was worthy of the title of invincible saint. Just this strength alone was enough to suppress all the races in the universe. Having an invincible saint could guarantee that one's race would stand at the peak of the universe. It could be said that the invincible saint was the true key to suppressing the luck of the race. Ludwig, don't talk nonsense with this human. Just eliminate him. Let him know the true meaning of despair and the consequences of going against the angel race. Archangel Goebbels held the world-splitting blade of light in his hand. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. Although they had long been in an invincible position, they were also afraid that a long delay would bring trouble. If they continued to delay, the human race's ancestors might discover something fishy. If the human race's ancestors arrived in time, then their plan this time would completely fail. The entire angel race would even incur the wrath of the human race. Therefore, this time they had to finish this battle quickly. They had to kill the Fengdu saint as soon as possible and then destroy his corpse. This way the human race would not know who killed their primordial saint. Chapter 2798. For the sake of light, I shall slay all sinners, slay all existences that disrespect the Lord, slay all sins in the world, slay all darkness in the world. No sin, no filth shall be allowed to live in the light. Archangel Goebbels' face glowed with a holy light. He held the peerless saint artifact, the world-splitting blade of light, and the magic power on his body was raised to the extreme, reaching the level of shaking the void. When such a wave of magic power erupted, Xia Ping felt a burst of fear. It was as if a random burst of magic power could form a cosmic storm, sweeping in all directions. In fact, the power of an invincible saint was not limited to what was mentioned above. The real terror of an invincible saint was that they had control over the laws of time, space, creation, life and death, and so on. These laws that formed the foundation of the universe were integrated into one, condensing a small universe in their body. The result was obvious. The magic power contained in their body was so strong that it was frightening. Just the magic power fluctuations on their body could destroy countless worlds. Moreover, the small universe in their body had already formed a balance, self-contained, and endless. The domain of an invincible saint crushed over, just like a small universe suppressing over. The weaker saints would be instantly suppressed and unable to move, unable to use any power of laws. In fact, an invincible saint could easily suppress all the saints below the primordial saint with just a thought, making it impossible for them to even struggle. The reason why the three archangels did not use such a domain to suppress Xiaoping was because Xiaoping had a divine artifact in his hand, which produced waves of tyrannical divine artifact fluctuations that could easily tear apart the domain power of an invincible saint, breaking through the restraint of the other party's domain laws. Otherwise, Xiaoping would be suppressed and completely killed in one move, unable to resist. Dong. In an instant, Archangel Goebbels made his move. He slashed towards Xiaoping with his saber, instantly erupting with billions of white saber lights of light. Each white saber light seemed to be able to slice this part of the universe in half. Wherever the power of light passed, all darkness was expelled. Hundreds of millions of lightsaber lights blasted over, forming a huge net of death that enveloped the universe's vacuum. It didn't give Xiaoping any space or opportunity to escape. In fact, every single blade of light contained the formidable power of the law of death. It was as if it could bring death to all living things and plunder all life force. If Xiaoping was struck by the saber, all of his life force would be sucked clean, and he would instantly become a dried corpse. His soul and flesh would wither and he would die. The Lord says that you are guilty and must die. The great angel Ludwig held the spear of judgment in his hand, his body emitting a scorching light as if he was the source of infinite light itself. At that moment he seemed to have transformed into the seraph closest to the Lord. It held the spear of judgment in its hand, and a Bible appeared in front of it. Angelic hymns appeared in the void in all directions, as if countless angels were singing, resonating with the origin of the universe. The judgment spear erupted with a boundless white light, and the power of the law of karma, the law of death, and the law of judgment emerged from the depths of the spear. Vaguely, Xiaoping sensed that his soul had been instantly locked onto by the judgment spear. Even if he walked to the ends of the universe, to the ends of the earth, he would not be able to escape the judgment of the judgment spear. This was because the judgment spear was attacking along the karma lines. As long as the judgment spear locked onto his soul, it would definitely hit. This was the power of the law of karma of the judgment spear. Boom. At the next second, Archangel Ludwig made his move. The judgment spear in his hand was thrown out just like that, and it seemed to turn into a scorching white light, merging into the void of the universe. It was like a javelin, blasting towards Xiaoping at a speed that surpassed hundreds or even thousands of times the speed of light. It followed the karma lines directly, wanting to penetrate Xiaoping's soul and body and nail him to death in the universe's vacuum. The Lord says that I will shoot you and make you kneel before the Lord to repent. Your soul will suffer eternal torture and suffering, and it will only end when the universe ends. Archangel Helmut was expressionless. It was as if he had abandoned all his emotions at that moment, leaving only absolute rationality. His spirit, energy and spirit were highly concentrated, and he forgot about everything else. He held the young divine bow in his hand, knocked an arrow and aimed it at Xiaoping. At that moment, Xiaoping felt that the threat of the yang divine bow was even greater than the previous two peerless sage artifacts. He felt his hair stand on end, and no matter where he hit, he would definitely be shot. Swoosh. At the next second, Archangel Helmut made his move. He knocked an arrow and a golden arrow was instantly shot out. It seemed to turn into a beam of golden light, merging into the void of the universe without a sound. A shocking killing intent immediately spread out from the depths of the void. This was no ordinary bow and arrow. It was the arrow of destiny, which contained the laws of destiny. As long as it was shot out, it would definitely hit the enemy, causing terrifying destruction. There were only 9 such arrows of destiny in the angel race. However, after so many years, 6 of them had been used and only 3 were left. However, every single time it was used, a peerless expert would definitely fall, and it would cause a world-shaking change. Therefore, in order to kill Xiaoping, the angel race had actually brought out the arrow of destiny. One could imagine how much importance the angel race placed on Xiaoping. They had already completely treated Xiaoping as an invincible saint. The laws of death, karma, and destiny attacked at the same time, intertwining with one another. It was as if Xiaoping was in a situation where he would definitely die. Any saint facing such a situation, even if they were invincible saints, would probably die without a doubt. There were not many saints in the entire universe who could withstand such an attack from the angel race. It could be said that in order to kill Xiaoping, the angel race had really put in a lot of effort and used all sorts of methods. In order to kill me, they actually used so many treasures. The angel race really thinks highly of me. Xiaoping's eyes revealed a frightening gleam. He could feel waves of killing intent, and it was as if he was facing an unprecedented situation. He had never encountered such a situation in his entire life. This was an unprecedented crisis. He could feel the laws of death, karma, and destiny blasting toward him. No matter how he dodged, he would not be able to avoid this attack. This was an attack that would definitely hit him. Vaguely, he could feel the aura of death enveloping his entire body. It was as if he could foresee the situation where he would die. His body would be sliced into countless pieces by the world-slaying blade of light, his heart would be pierced by the spear of judgment, and his head would be nailed into the eternal vacuum of the universe by the arrow of destiny. This was a situation where he would definitely die. Chapter 2799. In an instant, Xiaoping immediately took out a divine artifact, the Book of Karma. The dark golden book flipped open and countless pages of paper appeared. The pages were engraved with dense hellish runes, as if forming a supreme scripture. Immediately, the scriptures of hell merged together and enveloped Xiaoping's body. From the inside out, they were densely packed, forming a spherical karmic barrier. Endless karmic laws appeared in the Book of Karma, emitting an immense karmic power. Dong dong dong. In that instant, the attacks of the three angels arrived. The world-splitting blade of light, spear of judgment, and arrow of destiny struck Xiaoping's body at the same time. The power of the death, karmic, and destiny laws erupted at the same time, all blasting against the karmic barrier. An earth-shattering boom erupted, producing extremely terrifying energy waves. The energy waves of such laws swept out in all directions, affecting a radius of tens of thousands of light-years. Everything in its path was shaken into dust. What? In the next second, the expressions of Archangel Ludwig, Goebbels, and Helmut all changed. They discovered that their attacks with all their might had landed on the human Fengdu. Originally, this was a sure-win attack. They had high hopes that it would completely kill the human Fengdu and make him disappear from this universe. However, they discovered that when their attacks landed on Fengdu's body, they were all blocked. It seemed as if he was completely unharmed, and they could not break through his defenses at all. No, not only were they unable to break through his defenses, but from the densely packed energy barrier on his body, it seemed as if all their attacks had been reflected back at him. Damn it, he can actually reflect our attacks back at him. What kind of joke is this? Archangel Ludwig's expression changed drastically. He was in utter disbelief. This was because he had never heard of or seen something like this. What kind of treasure could reflect the power of a peerless divine artifact? This was the first time he had seen something like this. In fact, he had never even heard of it before. Divine artifact, this kid has a divine artifact that can reflect all attacks. Archangel Goebbels screamed. He could immediately tell that the Book of Karma that Xiaoping had taken out was clearly emitting the aura of a divine artifact. There was no way it would be wrong. Are you kidding me? This brat already has the Thunder God's hammer, an unparalleled divine weapon, and an attack that can reflect attacks. Who can defeat him? Wouldn't that be heaven-defying? Just how many good things did this guy get from the God of War's inheritance? Archangel Helmut's face turned green. At the same time, he was incomparably resentful towards Xiaoping, because the treasure left behind by the God of War originally belonged to the angel race, but now it had been snatched away by this human Fengdu. One could imagine how furious he was right now. If it wasn't for this kid, their angel race would have definitely obtained all the benefits instead of being monopolized by this human race saint. Rumble, but no matter how shocked, envious, and infuriated the three archangels were, this power still bounced back at them. In fact, it was twice as fast as before. After all, this was a full-powered attack from them, so its power was not to be underestimated. Even an invincible saint would have to give it his all in the face of this attack. Otherwise, he would definitely be heavily injured. Therefore, the three archangels felt unprecedented pressure. In their entire lives, they had never experienced being attacked by their own power. This was the first time in their lives. At this moment, they finally understood how terrifying the pressure their enemy was facing. Angel Domain, Holy Light Heaven. In an instant, the three archangels Ludwig, Goebbels, and Helmut roared angrily. The domains on their bodies immediately erupted, and they instantly fused together. Immediately, with their bodies as the center, endless white-hot holy light erupted. It seemed to form a huge heaven domain, covering the void in all directions. Vaguely, under the cover of this holy light, it seemed as if a heaven world had been born. Inside there were countless angels chanting, forming densely packed angel runes. These angel runes also quickly formed a huge holy light barrier, stacking layer upon layer, turning into 108 layers. It was as if this was the barrier of the world. Boom! At this moment, this force instantly bombarded the holy light heaven, erupting with unparalleled power. Unfortunately, no matter how hard the three archangels Ludwig, Goebbels, and Helmut tried, they could not withstand such destructive power. After all, offensive power was always much stronger than defensive power. With a few cracking sounds, the void barrier formed by the holy light immediately shattered like glass. Then it pierced through the holy light heaven, and the terrifying destructive power bombarded their bodies. Awe! Immediately, the three archangels Ludwig, Goebbels, and Helmut all let out miserable cries. In an instant they were blasted away by this huge force, flying hundreds of millions of kilometers. With a pff, they could not help but spit out a mouthful of blood. The terrifying power of laws bombarded their bodies. Even with the power of the life and death domain, they could not convert this power in time. In an instant, the three archangels were severely injured, and injuries that could not be healed in a short period of time appeared on their bodies. Damned humans! Baidu! Archangel Ludwig's eyes were filled with anger as he stared at Xia Ping. He felt unprecedented anger, and he encountered an unimaginable defeat. Originally he thought that his mission this time was in the bag. Who would have thought that this would happen? Not only did he not kill the Saint of Fengdu quickly, but he was also severely injured by the other party. Moreover, this human was a saint who had just advanced to the Archean realm, while they were invincible realm saints. How could they accept such a ridiculous result? If this matter were to spread, they would probably become the laughingstock of all the races in the universe. Kill? However, at this moment, Xia Ping had no intention of stopping, nor did he give the three archangels Ludwig, Goebbels, and Helmut any chance to fight back. He grabbed with his big hand and took out the third divine artifact, the reincarnation pen. Damn it, what else does this kid want? Archangel Goebbels saw that Xia Ping took out another magic treasure, and his face turned green. He was afraid of this human who always had an endless number of magic treasures and countless tricks. Another divine artifact. Damn it, just how many more divine artifacts does this human have? This is too much. Archangel Helmut's face was as black as charcoal. He could feel that the mysterious pen was emitting a strong aura of a divine artifact, and it contained a terrifying power of sharpness. In terms of power, it was not inferior to the hammer of God of Thunder just now and might even be stronger. Third sect leader. Chapter 2800. To be honest, the three angels, Ludwig, Goebbels, and Helmut, could not understand. Four ordinary saints, even if they were from the top races, it was already an incredible thing for them to own a god artifact. But what about this Fengdu of the human race? To think that he would take out legendary weapons one after another. It was as though legendary weapons were worthless. Even if he had a lot of treasures on him, he should know when to stop. Even if these god artifacts might have been obtained from the god of war's inheritance, it was still too much. Moreover, each god artifact was so powerful. If they had not seen it with their own eyes, they would not have believed that a saint would have so many god artifacts on him. This was simply unimaginable and unbelievable. Reincarnation brush. Xia Ping held the reincarnation brush in his hand and channeled a huge amount of world energy into it. A terrifying sharp force erupted from the reincarnation brush, emitting a terrifying power that could pierce through the sky. Vaguely, he seemed to have turned into the god of hell. With the reincarnation brush in hand, he drew reincarnation, cut yin and yang, and determined life and death. It was as if he controlled the life and death of all life in the world. Whoosh. In the next second, the reincarnation brush blasted towards the three angels, Ludwig, Goebbels, and Helmut. It blasted out three incomparably sharp beams of light that turned into three beams of black light. It was as if a beam of black light was enough to cut the universe's vacuum in half. Nothing could stop the sharp power of the brush. Not good. The expressions of the three angels, Ludwig, Goebbels, and Helmut, changed drastically. It was as if their fathers had died and their faces were extremely ugly. They felt a fatal danger. It was as if the three beams of black light would break the balance of their life and death domains, pierce through their souls, and reap them into the endless cycle of reincarnation. Block! The three angels bellowed out furiously. They unleashed the power of life and death within them, pushing the power of the three supreme quality saint artifacts to their limits. Immediately, the three peerless saint artifacts, the Spear of Judgment, the World-Splitting Blade of Light, and the Sun Divine Bow, shot out at the same time, turning into three scorching suns that blocked in front of them. Dong dong dong. In an instant, the reincarnation brush's sharp power blasted over, bombarding the three peerless saint artifacts. Immediately, a terrifying destructive power erupted, and the spiritual connection between the three peerless saint artifacts and the three angels was completely severed. Pooh! The three archangels, Ludwig, Goebbels, and Helmut, had not expected something like this to happen. Their spiritual connection with the peerless saint artifacts had actually been severed at the same time. This was basically a heavy blow to their souls in an instant, causing them to suffer an unimaginable backlash. They spat out a mouthful of blood. Even the sharpness of the reincarnation brush was not limited to this. It directly blasted toward the void of the universe in the distance, piercing through the void. In an instant, it cut the restriction formation in all directions into two halves and instantly shattered. Oh no! The expressions of the three angels changed drastically. They could feel that the restriction array they had painstakingly set up was to isolate the connection between this part of the universe and the outside world. But now, with just a light stroke of this brush, it had actually disintegrated the angel clan's powerful restriction array formation, and it was easily smashed into pieces like glass. At this moment, this place could no longer seal this human. At the same time, it could no longer resist the fluctuations of the battle. But even if they wanted to stop him, they were powerless. At the beginning, the rebound from the Book of Karma, coupled with the reincarnation brush severing their connection with the three peerless saint artifacts, caused their souls to suffer a backlash. A series of blows made it so that they almost had no strength to fight back. Even with the power of an invincible saint, it was difficult to reverse this situation. Swoosh! In the next second, Xiaoping grabbed the three peerless saint artifacts, the Spear of Judgment, the World-Splitting Blade of Light, and the Sun Divine Bow, in his hands, taking them for himself. Human Fengdu, how dare you! Seeing this scene, Archangel Ludwig was shocked and angry. These were extremely important peerless saint artifacts of the angel clan. They were the treasures of the clan and they could not be lost. Now, if they fell into the hands of this human Fengdu, not only would the angel clan suffer a huge loss of power, but the power of the human clan would also skyrocket. In this way, the angel clan would be at a complete disadvantage. How could they let such a thing happen? Human Fengdu, immediately let go of the three peerless saint artifacts of my clan. These are not treasures that a lowly human like you can get your hands on. Archangel Goebbels angrily ordered Xiaoping to immediately give up on the three peerless saint artifacts. It's useless, human Fengdu. These are treasures of my angel clan, and they have the Lord's imprint on them. Even if you take them away, you won't be able to use them at all. Archangel Helmut threatened. If you dare to take away these three peerless saint weapons, you will be making an enemy out of the angel race. Have you thought about the consequences? That's right. This is the decisive battle between the main universe and the abyss world, and our angel clan is an important battle force of the various races. If you take these three peerless saint artifacts, it will cause our angel clan to betray us. Have you thought about the consequences? You will become a sinner in the eyes of the various races. You are a sinner, do you know that? Archangel Goebbels threatened. He indicated that if Xiaoping dared to take these three peerless saint artifacts, the angel clan might betray them and join the abyss demons. What does that have to do with me? Xiaoping looked at the three archangels lazily with disdain. He didn't believe that the angel clan would betray them. After all, the angel clan and the abyss demon clan were polar opposites. There was no room for them to cooperate. They were both mortal enemies. Of course, the most important thing was that even if the angel clan betrayed them, he wouldn't be afraid at all. The war between the various races wasn't something that could be decided by a single race. However, there's still that Lord's imprint on them. It seems like I need to clean them. Xiaoping used his divine sense to sense that there was indeed a tyrannical imprint inside. It contained a powerful restriction power. Even the infernal golden crow flames wouldn't be able to break it in a short period of time. But he didn't have that much time to waste. Fortunately, he still had the Yellow Springs holy water. This was a treasure that could dissolve the souls of all living things. Even the demon god was extremely fearful of the Yellow Springs holy water. If even the demon god was afraid of it, then there was even less of a need to worry about the abilities of the angel clan's lord. Zing in an instant, Xiaoping took out some Yellow Springs holy water and poured it on the three peerless saint artifacts. Immediately when the Yellow Springs holy water dripped on them, it was like sulfuric acid entering the ground. It corroded a large amount of soul matter and produced clouds of white mist. At the same time, the spiritual imprint inside the three saint artifacts was instantly wiped out. Chapter 28:01. Boom. However, when the Yellow Springs holy water seeped into the depths of the three peerless saint artifacts, it immediately came into contact with a mysterious spiritual imprint. It seemed to be an extremely complicated angelic rune. Its appearance was like a ball of light, releasing a scorching light. Even Xiaoping could sense that such a spiritual imprint was extremely dangerous. It was many times more terrifying than the spiritual imprint left behind by an invincible saint. If it was an ordinary method, it would be impossible to remove such a spiritual imprint. However, under the corrosion of the Yellow Springs holy water, even the soul of a demon god would be melted. There was no spiritual imprint that could not be removed. ZZT in an instant, the white balls of light emitted clouds of white smoke. It seemed as if there were waves of shrill cries coming from the depths of the white balls of light. It was as if there were billions of angels roaring angrily, or as if there were countless demons screaming. Vaguely, there seemed to be a ball of terrifying angelic energy coming from the depths of the white balls of light. It seemed as if it was communicating with an unknown existence in the void of the universe. Dong. However, in the next second, the Yellow Springs holy water seeped into the balls of light and instantly cut off this connection. The spiritual imprint inside was completely removed, leaving nothing behind. It seemed as if there was a furious roar coming from the depths of the void at this moment, causing one's heart to palpitate. Impossible. Seeing this, Archangel Ludwig's eyes widened. He simply could not believe what his eyes were seeing. This was because these three peerless saint artifacts not only had the spiritual imprint of their demigod-level angels, but also the imprint of the Lord. Even if an invincible saint were to take them away, he would not be able to refine them. They were also extremely confident. However, this scene almost caused their faith to collapse. They did not know what this human had done to actually be able to remove even the imprint of the Lord. This was simply unimaginable. Damn it, what did this human do to these three peerless saint artifacts? Archangel Helmut clenched his fists. He could not understand no matter how hard he thought. He could not understand how there was a way to remove the imprint left by the Lord on the peerless saint artifacts. If the owner's mark was left on them, then no matter where these three peerless grade saint artifacts went, they would be found by the angel clan and would eventually return to the angel clan. Sometimes they would even deliberately leave the angel race's weapons behind and let other enemies pick them up. This way they could use the imprints on the angel race's weapons to know where the enemy's nest was and annihilate them in one fell swoop. This could be regarded as a method unique to the angel clan. Countless races knew that taking away the angel clan's magic treasure would not be of any use. Instead, it might cause a lot of trouble. This human is a great enemy of my angel clan. Archangel Goebbels's pupils constricted, his killing intent surging. Because such a thing had never happened before, if this human grasped the method to remove the Lord's imprint, then it would simply be a disaster for the angel race. In other words, this guy could deprive the angels of the privilege to use the angel race's weapons at will, and even take them for himself. This was a huge blow to the angel race. Such a thing was simply unheard of and unseen. Not a bad magic treasure. Xiaoping waved his hand and immediately placed the three ownerless peerless grade saint artifacts into the world of the classic of mountains and seas. He had already witnessed the power of these three peerless grade saint artifacts from the angel clan. Every single one of them was extraordinary. Although they were not comparable to the divine weapons he had, they were still quite amazing. Even among the peak races, there were not many peerless sacred weapons. Human Fengdu, you are courting death. Immediately hand over our race's peerless sacred weapons. Otherwise our angel race will not rest until you are dead. Hand them over and die. When the three archangels, Ludwig, Goebbels, and Helmut saw that Xiaoping had actually taken the three peerless sacred weapons as if they were his own treasures, they were immediately filled with rage. They felt an unprecedented anger as if a lot of flesh had been cut off from their bodies. It was simply unbearable. Not rest until you are dead? The next time we meet, it will be the time of your angel race's annihilation. Xia Ping looked at the three archangels indifferently. He did not care about what the three archangels thought at all. Since they dared to kill him, they would not rest until he was dead. Was there any reason for him to be polite? Whoosh. As soon as he finished speaking, his body flashed and he immediately fled into the distance at an extremely fast speed. To be honest, he did not want to continue fighting. Although he had the upper hand just now and was suppressing the three demigod angels, the truth was that he was already an arrow at the end of its flight. After all, using the divine weapons consumed too much of his world power. Moreover, he had used his full strength. After a few attacks, he had used up most of his world power. If it were an ordinary primordial saint, it would probably be difficult for him to use the divine weapons. After all, with their world power, they would probably not be able to withstand a single attack from the divine weapons. Only a primordial saint like Xia Ping, who had unbelievably strong powers in his body, could squander the attacks of the divine weapons so many times. Even so, he could not continue squandering. If he continued to fight, he was afraid that he would not have any power left in his body before he could kill the three demigod angels. Not to mention that there was a mysterious powerhouse behind the three demigod angels. Who knew what other trump cards these demigod angels had not used? Therefore, after careful consideration, Xia Ping felt that he had gained a lot this time. There was no need to continue fighting with these demigod angels. Human Fengdu, don't leave if you have the guts. The three archangels Ludwig, Goebbels, and Helmut were shocked and furious. They did not expect this bastard to run away in the blink of an eye. They immediately used their full speed and tried to chase after him. However, Xia Ping's speed was really too fast. He was not much slower than these demigod angels. With a thought, he could teleport tens of millions of light years. Coupled with the fact that he had the help of the formless mask, he could easily hide his aura. In just a few breaths' time, he disappeared from the perception range of the three archangels. How can this kid be so fast? He's even faster than us demigods? Great Angel Ludwig's expression changed. He couldn't sense Xia Ping's aura within his range of perception. Unwilling to give up, he scanned back and forth, penetrating every dimension and searching every inch of space and time. However, it was to no avail. It was as if this kid had disappeared into thin air. This human is too strange. Archangel Goebbels' eyes revealed a hint of coldness. I feel that this human might not only have obtained the inheritance of the god of war, but also the inheritance of other gods? Waves of intense killing intent emanated from his body as he voiced his speculation. Chapter 2802. Impossible. How can one person obtain the inheritance of more than two gods? Archangel Helmut screamed. He felt that this was impossible. Actually, there was a reason for this. After all, the inheritance of gods was exclusive. After obtaining the inheritance of the god of war, it was impossible to obtain the inheritance of other gods. After all, the power of two gods would conflict with each other. It was impossible to fuse them together. Moreover, before one wanted to inherit the power of a god, they would sense the power in the trial taker's body. If they discovered the power of other gods, they would instantly kill or expel the trial taker. Therefore, he had not thought of this at first. Nothing is impossible. Although this is really unbelievable and impossible, who can be sure that there is no other way to do it? Perhaps he has a way to deceive the gods. Archangel Goebbels narrowed his eyes. You must be joking. Obtaining the inheritance of one god is already quite terrifying. This human has obtained the inheritance of more than one god. Isn't this heaven-defying? Archangel Ludwig's expression was very ugly. If this speculation was true, then it was only natural that they failed this time because they had no idea what the Saint of Fengdu was like. Spread this news and let all the saints know about this kid's secret. At that time, his enemy won't just be us angels. Everyone will be coveted by him. I want him to be the target of everyone. He won't be able to eat or sleep in peace. Archangel Helmut was furious. He hollered. His hatred for Xia Ping had reached an extreme. He wanted to spread the secret that this Saint Fengdu had multiple god inheritances. This way, all the invincible saints in the universe would covet this kid. When that happened, there would probably be no need for the angels to do anything. All kinds of plots and schemes would attack this Saint Fengdu. By then, this Saint Fengdu would probably be dead for sure. Ignorant. This is just the lowest level of schemes. Hearing this, Archangel Goebbels laughed coldly. With this kid's strength, will he be afraid of such schemes? Even 3 demigod-level angels working together with 3 peerless sacred artifacts can't kill him. How can the invincible saints of other races kill him? Moreover, he has the protection of the human race's patriarch. After this he will be more cautious. I'm afraid it will be difficult to find such an opportunity to ambush him next time. This? The other two angels were speechless. Indeed, even the three demigod-level angels working together couldn't kill this Saint Fengdu. How could the invincible saints of other races do this? Moreover, the demons of the abyss were invading right now. The entire universe was facing a great enemy. The saints of the major races wouldn't attack the invincible saints of the human race just because of this. After all, if there was internal strife in the universe right now, the demons of the abyss would probably laugh to death. Compared to the life and death of the entire race, the sages of the other peak races also knew the severity of the matter. Even if they knew that the other party had treasures on them, they could not brazenly attack them. If they did, they wouldn't. Saints of the saint of saint would be killed. Saints had then that they could 1 1 and 1 1 1 1 1 and 1 1. This was saint 1, saints, comma, there's no rush. Although this kid is crafty and full of tricks, our angel tribe isn't to be trifled with. Return to the angel tribe and report this matter to the Lord. Report this to the Lord. Report this to the Lord? Is there a need to make such a big deal out of it? Hearing this, the two angels became serious. Under normal circumstances, they wouldn't contact the Lord. After all, the Lord wouldn't casually hear their prayers. Saint Fengdu's saint is very unusual. He has the inheritance of several gods. He's not someone we can deal with. Only the Lord can capture him. Archangel Gobel said in a deep voice, although this sage Fengdu has caused us a lot of trouble, he is still a moving treasure trove. If we can kill him, I'm afraid that all the divine inheritances on him will be ours. He clenched his fists, his eyes filled with greed. I see. The other two angels couldn't help but nod. Although they hated Saint Fengdu, they had to admit that this kid was like Taoist of many treasures. If they could kill this brat, then their angel clan would become rich overnight. Yes, they would become rich overnight. Even with the wealth of the angel race, they still coveted the treasures on Saint Fengdu. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. In the blink of an eye, the three angels left this place and quickly returned to the headquarters of the angel race. And the news of their return quickly spread to the upper echelons of the angel race. How was it? Did you bring back Fengdu's head? A primordial angel couldn't help but ask. We failed. Archangel Helmet said helplessly as he recounted everything that had happened in detail. What did you say? This time, 3 demigod angels couldn't kill Saint Fengdu and he even escaped? It's fine if he escaped, but the 3 peerless sacred artifacts of the angel race were taken by this human saint. What kind of joke is this? A primordial angel couldn't help but scream. Shame, this is a great shame. Another primordial angel roared, a lowly human dares to do such a thing. This is an insult to the Lord, a blasphemy to the Lord, a trampling on the dignity of the angel race. We must capture him, tie him to the angel pillar, and burn him alive with holy fire for 3 days and 3 nights. He was going crazy with anger. Because even in the primordial era when they were fighting with the demons of the abyss, the angel race had never suffered such a great shame. These were 3 peerless sacred artifacts, a total of 3. 1 peerless sacred artifact was enough to suppress the luck of a race, let alone 3. Even for the peak races, losing 3 peerless sacred artifacts was unbearable. Moreover, these were the sacred artifacts of the angel race, and they were extremely important symbols to the angels. Especially that peerless sacred artifact, the Spear of Judgment, was the symbol of the angel race, the face of the angel race. Everyone knew that the Spear of Judgment was unparalleled. If other races found out that the Spear of Judgment had been taken, the angel race would immediately become the laughingstock of countless races in the universe. This was like China's imperial jade seal being taken by an outsider. This was an intolerable humiliation. Yes, we must kill him. We, the angel race, will not rest until one of us is dead. Many of the angels were furious. Sogu website. Chapter 2803. At this moment in another place. Xiaoping suddenly left the place where the angels were fighting and instantly entered the world of the classic of mountains and seas. He isolated his aura and avoided the search of the angels. Did they go back? At this time, Xiaoping narrowed his eyes and took out the book of karma. He immediately saw the karmic threads of himself and the 3 angels in the book. 3 illusory karmic threads seeped out from his body and merged into the depths of the void. It seemed to have entered the river of fate. Then, this karmic thread came out from the other end of the river of fate and finally extended into the void of the universe. However, the place where the 3 angels stayed was too far away. It was so far that he didn't know where it was. He couldn't even touch it with the range of his spiritual consciousness. Could it be the angel race's headquarters? If it's the headquarters, then it'll be interesting. Xiaoping's eyes flashed. He felt that his guess was very likely. If these angels didn't return to the headquarters, then where could they go? If this was the case, then he believed that as long as he followed the karmic threads, he could find the 3 angels even if they escaped to the ends of the earth. Moreover, he could follow the vines to the melon and find their lair. Moreover, the Book of Karma also showed this. If he followed the karmic threads, he would definitely find the place where the angel race's headquarters was located. I can't be impulsive. I can't be impulsive for now. Xiaoping clenched his fists. He still suppressed his impulse to go to the angel race's headquarters. After all, he only had one chance. If he was discovered after breaking into the angel race's headquarters, then the angels would probably be vigilant next time. It wouldn't be so easy to sneak in again. Moreover, this was how he did things. If he didn't do it, then forget it. But once he did it, he must succeed. Moreover, he must not let the enemy have any ability to resist. Therefore, he planned to wait until his strength rose to another level before looking for trouble with the angels. This way he could make the angels pay a huge price. Otherwise, even if he went to the angel race's headquarters now, it would be useless. It would only alert the enemy. However, if he found the location of the angel race's headquarters, then everything would be easy. Beep, right at this moment, the system's voice rang out. Congratulations, host. You've snatched 3 peerless sacred artifacts from the angel race and foiled their plans, causing the angel race to harbor immense hatred towards you. You've even caused the leader of the angel race to harbor hatred towards you. You've obtained a total of 5,000 hatred crystals this time. I hope that the host can continue to work hard. 5,000 hatred crystals. Hearing these words, Xiaoping was taken aback. It seemed that he had never received so many hatred crystals before. Even after causing such a big commotion in the abyss, he had not received 5,000 hatred crystals. But right now he had merely snatched away the 3 peerless saint weapons of the angel clan, and yet he had received so much hatred. Just what was going on? The system seemed to have sensed Xiaoping's thoughts and explained. Because the angel race is an organization formed by religion, every angel believes in the Lord and is extremely fanatical. It can be said that their hatred for heathens is endless. Every angel is like this, so the hatred generated is especially high. Although Host has foiled the plans of the abyssal demons and incurred their hatred, it is only the hatred of some abyssal kings. Most of the abyssal demons don't know much about Host. Indeed. Xiaoping nodded. He had stolen the treasury of the abyssal demon lord. In fact, only those abyssal kings who knew about it were very angry, but for the vast majority of the abyssal demons, he was actually just a nobody. And in order to protect the dignity of the demon lord, those abyssal kings also concealed this matter and only spread it among the upper echelons, so the hatred received was relatively small. But the angel race was different. Their methods of dealing with heathens could be considered brutal. To put it bluntly, they were a very stingy race. Their hearts were narrower than the tip of a needle, and they were famous for seeking revenge for the smallest grievance in the entire universe. There was a famous saying in the universe that if you offended an angel, don't even think about running away. Therefore, by doing such a thing, Xiaoping had simply trampled on their dignity and slapped their faces fiercely. One could imagine the hatred that was caused by this. It was estimated that those angels wanted nothing more than to skin Xiaoping alive. It seems that offending the angel race is indeed a good deal. Xiaoping touched his chin and his eyes immediately lit up. Offending those religious believers was completely different from offending other life forms. The amount of hatred he received was too much. After all, they were all organized, had the same idea, and each of them was quite powerful. Offending one was equivalent to offending a group of them, and the harvest was great. It was like a firecracker. For other experts, this was courting death. There was no benefit in offending the angel race. Instead, it would cause huge trouble. But he was different. Even if he offended this group of angels, they wouldn't be able to do anything to him. Instead, he would get a lot of hatred. No matter how he looked at it, it was a very cost-effective deal. If I do it a few more times, I might be able to harvest 100,000 hatred crystals soon. Xiaoping thought about it. Previously, the hatred crystals on him had reached 13,000. Now, with the addition of 5,000 hatred crystals, it was already 18,000 hatred crystals, which was an astronomical number. And this number was actually not too far from 100,000 hatred crystals. Just the hatred crystals that he had now were basically equivalent to 1/5 of the amount. Forget it, these are all trivial matters. I wonder how about these 3 Peerless Saint artifacts. At this time, Xiaoping took out 3 Peerless Saint artifacts from his body. The Spear of Judgment, the Yang Divine Bow, and the World-Splitting Blade of Light. These 3 Peerless Saint artifacts all emitted unusual energy fluctuations. Although he already had some Peerless Saint artifacts on him, and even some divine artifacts, who would think that he had so many magic treasures on him? Moreover, this was the Peerless Saint artifact of the angel race, which possessed extraordinary power. Interesting. Xiaoping held the Spear of Judgment, and he could immediately feel the extraordinary nature of this Peerless Saint artifact. It contained a huge law of karma, which seemed to be able to lock onto the enemy's chi. Even if the enemy was hiding in the corner of the universe, it could still track such a line of karma and kill them. This was a veritable Spear of Judgment. As long as the enemy was convicted of a crime, they would almost certainly die. Although the law of karma of this Peerless Saint artifact was not as powerful as the Book of Karma, it was not trivial among the Peerless Saint artifacts. At least, there were only a handful of Peerless Saint artifacts with the law of karma. Sogu. Chapter 2804. The Yang Divine Bow was not simple either. It seemed to contain the law of karma. Once it was shot, it would form an arrow of destiny which was almost guaranteed to hit its target. At the same time, the Yang Divine Bow also contained the terrifying law of fire and law of destruction. The destructive power of the arrow was extraordinary. It could even easily pierce through a sun. If Xiaoping did not have the Book of Karma as a defensive divine artifact, he would definitely feel uneasy when facing the Yang Divine Bow. He would always be worried about being assassinated. Radiant World-Cleaving Saber. Xiaoping held the saber and could feel that it contained powerful law of light and law of slicing. There were not many things in the world that could not be split apart. The sharpness of the saber chi was something he had never seen in his life. Of course, in terms of true sharpness, it was naturally not comparable to a divine artifact like the reincarnation brush. However, this peerless sacred artifact, Radiant World-Cleaving Saber, was already quite impressive. Even a space-time barrier could be split in half by this saber. Not a bad treasure. Xiaoping was very satisfied. These 3 peerless sacred artifacts were quite good choices, be it for auction, exchanging for other precious treasures or keeping them for his own use. As for whether using these 3 supreme quality saint artifacts would infuriate the angels into doing something desperate, that was not within his consideration. On the contrary, the more the angels hated him, the greater the benefits for him. He happened to be lacking a large number of hatred crystals. Master. At this moment, the green ox's voice was transmitted over. Then its figure appeared in front of Xiaoping. What's the matter? Xiaoping's heart stirred. He knew that the green ox would not disturb him unless it was something important. It's like this. Today is Master's mother's birthday. There will be a family banquet tonight. Master's mother asked me if Master has time to attend. The green ox said solemnly. Today is Mother's birthday? It seems that we haven't seen each other for a long time. It's time to go back and meet her. Hearing this, Xiaoping immediately thought of this matter. To be honest, after entering the universe, especially after entering the immortal realm, he did not have much concept of time. After all, he had an almost eternal lifespan, so he naturally would not pay attention to these things. Unless it was a very meaningful lifespan, such as a birthday of 10,000 years, a birthday of 1,000,000 years, a birthday of 100 million years, etc., he would not celebrate anything else. After all, a single seclusion could last for decades or centuries. Who would deliberately celebrate a birthday? As for the lifespan of his parents, Zhang Xian was not too worried about it either. He had plenty of resources on him, and he was confident that he could push his parents to sempiternal realm. When he had just entered the cosmos, he did not have this ability. But now that he had advanced to the primeval realm, this was a piece of cake. An hour later, Xiaoping returned to Cloud Continent from the void passage of the classic of mountains and seas. At this moment, his father, Xia Chuanlu, and mother, Huang Lanxin, were living in the presidential mansion on Cloud Continent. After all, his father, Xia Chuanlu, was currently the president of the Human Alliance. In the next second, his figure flashed as if he had entered an uninhabited land. The so-called defense of the office of the president had no effect on him at all, as if it did not exist. Dad. At this moment, Xia Ping immediately saw his father Xia Chuanlu sitting alone in the living room of the Pavilion Lord Manor. Huh. It's my son? Xia Chuanlu was taken aback, thinking that someone had invaded the office of the president. However, when he turned his head and saw Xia Ping, he could not help but breathe a sigh of relief. I told you to have dinner tonight and I thought you were busy. I thought you wouldn't come back. Also, can you not always appear and disappear like a ghost? Although your cultivation base is high, you can scare people to death if you scare them. How could I scare you to death, Dad? You're now a great expert at perfection thunder tribulation. Xia Ping could immediately see that Xia Chuanlu's current martial Dao cultivation base had advanced to perfection thunder tribulation. Originally, Xia Chuanlu's martial Dao talent was ordinary, and he might not even be able to advance to the Purple Mansion realm. However, Xia Ping was rich and overbearing. Coupled with Green Bull's alchemy skills at the level of a grandmaster, a huge amount of resources, he refined countless precious pills, which Xia Chuanlu ate like candy. As a result, in a short time, Xia Chuanlu advanced to perfection thunder tribulation. He could be said to be the first person after Xia Ping. Now he was truly a top human expert. Even Giant Corporation's leader Gu Yulai, Aurora Corporation's leader Sun Yangdao, and Life Corporation's leader Lu Wuming couldn't compare to Xia Chuanlu. After all, they didn't have the support of so many resources. If they relied on themselves, they might not be able to reach perfection thunder tribulation like Xia Chuanlu even after a few thousand years. At this moment, no one had any doubts about Gu Chuanlu becoming the president of the Federation. After all, his strength was enough to suppress everything. Of course, although Xia Chuanlu was a Thunder Tribulation realm martial artist, he relied on elixirs to advance. He was purely a fake and didn't have much combat experience. If he was to fight against someone of the same level, he would probably be beaten up badly. However, his strength was still an overwhelming advantage against martial artists who were one level lower. Haha, I didn't expect my son to be able to see that your father is a great expert. To be honest, your father is basically invincible among humans. Of course, my son is a monster and can't be compared. Xia Chuanlu had a proud expression. Yes. Of course, your father is incredible. Xia Ping nodded vigorously. By the way, son, do you have any elixirs for your father to take? Xia Chuanlu leaned closer and said mysteriously, to be honest, you know my cultivation level. I relied on elixirs to advance. I don't have any martial arts foundation. I'm completely a fake. Now that the Thunder Tribulation is approaching, if I still can't think of a way, I'm afraid the Thunder Tribulation will strike your father to death. Alas, if I had known this earlier, I wouldn't have advanced so quickly. Who knew that there would be a Thunder Tribulation? Do you think this damn god can't bear to see others doing well? Why does he strike people so easily? He was indignant, and at the same time he regretted being too cocky, causing his cultivation level to advance too quickly. As a result, he didn't have any confidence to pass the Thunder Tribulation. He was afraid that when the Thunder Tribulation appeared, he would turn into ashes. He would probably be the first human from Yanhuang planet to be killed by the Thunder Tribulation. To be honest, there is still a way. The corner of Xia Ping's mouth twitched, and he looked at his thick-skinned father speechlessly. Others were all dependent on their fathers, but his father was actually dependent on his son. He even asked if there was a way to safely pass the Thunder Tribulation and advance to the Sage Realm. Why didn't this guy go to heaven? He didn't even have such a good thing in the past. Fortunately, he had a lot of immortal fruits on him. Otherwise, his father would have really been killed by the Thunder Tribulation and turned into ashes. Third Sect Leader. Chapter 2805. Are you serious? Even immortal sages can reach that level with pills? Hearing this, Xia Chuanlu was shocked. At first he was just joking, but he didn't expect there to really be a way. He stared at Xia Ping with his eyes wide open. Of course, after eating this fruit, you'll become an immortal sage very soon. You don't have to worry about the Thunder Trial either. Xia Ping searched the classic of mountains and seas for a while and quickly fished out an immortal fruit. He hadn't eaten an immortal fruit for a long time because such a fruit didn't have much effect on him anymore. However, it was still very useful for Thunder Trial warriors. After all, an immortal fruit contained the lifetime cultivation essence of an immortal sage. One could imagine how much energy it contained. If such a fruit was taken out to the outside world, it would definitely cause a huge commotion. Immortal fruit? Seeing the immortal fruit in Xia Ping's hand, Xia Chuanlu's eyes widened and he held his breath. With his current cultivation, he could already feel the strangeness of this fruit. It contained a huge amount of immortal qi. Every cell in his body longed to swallow this fruit. This was definitely a rare natural fruit in the universe. At least, he had never heard of any fruit that could help the Thunder Tribulation to ascend to the immortal level. It was simply unheard of and unseen. Unbelievable. Son, this immortal fruit must be very precious. Xia Chuanlu sighed. It is indeed very precious. Apart from me, no other sages can have it. There is only one in the entire universe. By the way, Mom should be advancing soon, right? You should give her one too. Xia Ping took out 2 immortal fruits and placed them on the table. This? Seeing Xia Ping treat the immortal fruit so casually as if it was an ordinary fruit, Xia Chuanlu's mouth twitched. He couldn't feel how precious this fruit was from his son. Of course, the ability to help Thunder Trial warriors reach immortal was still rare and undeniably powerful. If those Thunder Trial warriors in the universe knew about this, they would probably buy one even if they had to spend all their money. Son, don't tell me you still have many of these immortal fruits? Xia Chuanlu asked. Not many, just a few hundred. Eat them sparingly. Xia Ping thought about it and answered. A few hundred. Hearing this, Xia Chuanlu's heart skipped a beat. This was a terrifying number. If these fruits were given to some Thunder Retribution Realm warriors, wouldn't they be able to create hundreds of immortal saints? Motherfucker, this was simply producing undying saints like dumplings. Saints were worthless now. By the way, Dad, where did Mom go? Why can't I see her anywhere? Xia Ping asked. He looked around but couldn't see where his mother was. Oh, she went shopping with your girlfriends? They should be back soon. Xia Chuanlu replied casually. He was still in a state of shock. Girlfriend? Hearing this, Xia Ping was a little confused. He didn't know what his dad was talking about. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. At this time, there was a burst of bell-like laughter outside, and then a group of women came in. Among them was his mother, Huang Lanxin. In addition, there were Nangong Wu, Qiushu, Suji, Sumei Jiangyaru, Churong Yuchichi, and even Lingyun Sect's Saintess Yi Mengyao. They came back from outside with big and small bags. Obviously, they had just gone shopping. Moreover, they were talking and laughing with each other as if they had known each other for a long time. Son, you're back. When Huang Lanxin saw Xia Ping, she immediately cried out in surprise. Mom. Xia Ping said honestly. Great, I knew you would come back today. You must cook a good meal tonight. Huang Lanxin said excitedly. Let's not talk anymore. I'll go into the kitchen to cook first. Old Xia, come in and help. She pulled Xia Chuanlu into the kitchen next door. Obviously, she deliberately found an excuse to leave. Only Xia Ping, Nangong Wu, and the others were left in the hall. To be honest, the hall was so quiet that even a drop of water could be heard. Xia Ping felt an unprecedented tension. Even when facing the 3 invincible saints, he was not so nervous. It was as if he was facing a great enemy. Ahem, I didn't expect you to come to my house for dinner. What a coincidence. Xia Ping was the first to open his mouth and break the deadlock. It's not a coincidence. It's a prepared trip. Su Mei smiled slightly. Who told some men to not be at home and go out to flirt? I really have no choice but to come and ask for an explanation. I'm afraid that Lord Xia is forgetful and has forgotten about us. Su Ji said faintly. You've misunderstood. I didn't do anything to flirt when I went out. All I did was contribute to the human race. I went through fire and water everywhere. I barely survived. It's not so comfortable. Xia Ping protested. Barely survived? Why did I hear that you took the initiative to cause trouble everywhere? One race's treasure house was stolen, and another race's treasure house was stolen. Now there are many saints in the universe who want to kill you. Qiushu looked at Xia Ping speechlessly. These are all misunderstandings. Xia Ping said righteously, it's purely a lie made up by those saints to slander me. If you want to blame me, you can always find a way to frame me. I just went to those places to bring back some gifts. It's not as serious as the theft. Nangong Wu looked at Xia Ping in disdain. What do you mean by bringing back some gifts? His entire treasure house was emptied. Is this just bringing back some gifts? This guy's understanding of gifts is different from others. Moreover, this is his treasure house. Can the treasures inside be brought back just because he wants to? I didn't expect the famous Wu Wudi to be so obedient at home. If Auntie Huang knew about all the bad things you did outside, what would she think? Yi Mengyao gave him a sidelong glance. Of course I'm obedient. This guy is a famous liar in the universe. No one knows how many faces he has and how many women he has around him. Yu Qiqi looked at Xia Ping in disdain. Ahem, you've all misunderstood. Actually, this is my true face. The real me is actually a simple and kind child. I did those things because I had no other choice. I was forced by the situation. Xiaoping coughed. As for those women around me, they're all wild bees and butterflies. They probably threw themselves at me because they coveted my beauty. I'm a victim. Pui shameless. Yi Mingyao and the rest spat. They knew that this guy was thick-skinned, but they didn't expect it to be to this extent. It was even stronger than the defense of a saint artifact. Other women coveted his beauty. Why didn't this guy ascend to the heavens? He was too shameless. Chapter 2806. By the way, there's something I have to tell you first. It's very serious. I'm afraid it will affect the future of the entire human race. You have to listen carefully. At this moment, Xiaoping's expression turned serious. In order to change the topic, he decided to tell them about what happened in the Abyss world and the demons' plan to attack the world. Half an hour later, he told them everything in full detail. What? The demons will soon attack the Abyss universe? As expected, after hearing Xiaoping's news, Nangang Wu and the others immediately forgot about pursuing Xiaoping's matter. After all, this was a matter of life and death for all races. They had to put aside their feelings for each other. Once the war broke out, who knew how many lives would be lost? Although no one knew how long the war between the primordial era and the Abyss world had passed, from the historical records, 9 out of 10 houses were empty and starving people were everywhere. Especially Yi Mingyao. She was not only the saintess of the Soaring Cloud sect, but also the saintess of the elf race. She had a large family behind her and countless lives were at stake. That's right, there's no doubt about this. Currently, only the invincible saints know about this. It hasn't been announced yet to prevent ordinary people from panicking. Xiaoping said in a low voice. If that's the case, what should we do? Jianghu frowned. Of course, she knew how cruel the war would be at the beginning. Not to mention that even saints might fall, ordinary people might even become cannon fodder. Moreover, it was impossible to avoid it. This was a war that affected the entire universe. No life could stay out of it. They would all be swept into the waves. At the same time, although their cultivation had improved rapidly and they had occasional fortuitous encounters, their strength had only reached the complete stage of the lightning trial. They were still a long way from becoming immortal. Among them, the strongest was Yi Mingyao. With Xiaoping's help, her strength had improved by leaps and bounds. She had already become a near-ancient saint and comprehended the law of space. However, this kind of strength was still not considered elite. Of course, Jianghu and the others were even weaker. They couldn't protect themselves in the war at all. This is child's play. I'll increase your strength first and let you all become immortal saints. Xiaoping had already thought of a way. He would first let the people around him become immortal saints. In this way, even if war broke out, they would at least have a strong ability to protect themselves. After all, if a battle were to occur at a critical moment, even Xiaoping would not have the energy to pay attention to the people around him. Therefore, it was better to increase their strength so that they could protect themselves. A few minutes later, Xiaoping took out the immortal fruit, space fruit, time fruit, creation fruit, and even the world fruit, and placed them in front of Nangang Wu and the others. He explained the uses of these fruits to Nangang Wu and the others. It can't be right? Eating an immortal fruit will allow one to become an immortal sage? The success rate is 100%? Yuchichi's eyes widened in disbelief. After all, it was extremely difficult for ordinary people to reach the immortal realm. Even if they used up all their resources, there was no way to touch the bottleneck of the immortal realm. In the end, they could only die of old age. But now he could succeed just by eating a fruit. How unbelievable was that? Surface-wise, it seemed very simple. In fact, however, obtaining the everlasting fruit was incomparably difficult. It was countless times more difficult compared to obtaining a sacred artifact. After all, these fruits could only be produced by the world tree. It was a special ability of the world tree. Other than that, there was no other way to produce these fruits. How many people in the entire universe could have the world tree? Therefore, this was an ability unique to Xiaoping. Other sages and other races could not possibly have it. Eating a space fruit will allow one to comprehend the law of space. Eating a time fruit will allow one to comprehend the law of time. Eating a creation fruit will allow one to comprehend the law of creation. This is unbelievable. Yi Mingyao was also shocked. Even though she had seen similar fruits before, she was still shocked when she saw the time fruit that Xiaoping took out. One must know that if ordinary sages wanted to comprehend the law of space and the law of time, they had to fuse their souls with the origin of the universe. Only after a long period of accumulation would they be able to fully comprehend the fragments of the various laws. But now, eating a fruit would allow one to completely comprehend them. How unbelievable was that? However, the reason why these fruits had such an ability was because the fragments of the laws and energy within the fruits were obtained from the sages of the ancient era and the middle era. Each time fruit contained many fragments of time comprehended by the middle era sages. Eating it was equivalent to possessing the lifetime cultivation and information of the laws of the other party. This was equivalent to a saint imparting his wisdom to him, imparting his lifetime's worth of skills to him. Generally speaking, this was almost impossible. After all, when ordinary sages died, their blood essence, energy and information of the laws would dissipate and return to the origin of the universe. Others could not use it at all. However, the world tree had a way to forcefully intercept it, devour it, fuse it, and condense it into a special fruit. This was the unique and unbelievable ability of the world tree. After devouring it, you will need a period of time to consolidate your cultivation and martial Dao foundation before you can devour the next stage of the fruit. If you jump levels, I'm afraid there will be unpredictable consequences. You must be careful not to advance too quickly. This will be disadvantageous to your cultivation. Xiaoping reminded. For example, after advancing to the immortal sage, one could not jump levels to consume the time fruit and comprehend the law of time. After all, if one did not even comprehend the law of space, how could one comprehend the law of time? Most importantly, the time fruit contained the lifetime cultivation and flesh essence of the Middle Era sages. This kind of energy was not something a mere immortal sage could handle. If one were to forcefully consume it, one's body would explode. This was the so-called going too far is as bad as falling short. Pulling a seedling to help it grow was not a good thing. And got it? Nangong Wu and the others nodded their heads. They had been cultivating for a very long time, so they naturally knew about the taboo of cultivation. Even with the assistance of such a heavenly fruit, they still needed to cultivate bitterly on their own. Only then would they be able to take control of the energy and integrate it without any side effects. In the blink of an eye, a month passed. Nangong Wu, Qiushu, Suji, Sumei, Jiangyaru, Churong, Yuchichi and the rest all broke through and reached the immortal sage realm. At the same time, Xiaoping's parents also reached the immortal sage realm and obtained the immortal body. Yimingyao also broke through from the near ancient era sage realm to the middle era sage realm. Her strength had increased by leaps and bounds. If this news were to spread, it would definitely shock the entire universe. Sogu website. Chapter 2807. As expected of the mutant fruits born from the world tree. After learning about Nangong Wu and the others as well as his parents' cultivation, Xiaoping was very satisfied. The immortal fruit, spatial fruit, time fruit, and other mutant fruits indeed had extraordinary effects. However, this ability did not break the balance of the universe. In fact, it was still difficult for sages to be born. The reason this happened was because the power of the dead sages was transferred to others with the help of the world tree's plunder ability. In fact, the number of sages in the universe did not increase. It was equivalent to exchanging one for another. The number of sages in the universe might even decrease because of this. This was the unique ability of the world tree to plunder heavenly secrets. After becoming an immortal sage, I should have the ability to protect myself. Xiaoping immediately heaved a sigh of relief. As he became stronger, so did his enemies. If the people around him did not have the ability to protect themselves, unpredictable dangers might happen. However, now that they had all become immortal sages, and with the help of these mutant fruits, their cultivation would definitely improve by leaps and bounds, far surpassing the imagination of other sages. Right, where did Xiaojin go? Suddenly Xiaoping thought of the golden slime. He had brought back a large number of divine artifact fragments from the abyss world to let the golden slime evolve greatly. If the golden slime improved further, it would probably be of more help to him. It might even be able to advance to the divine artifact level or even stronger. Master. As if sensing Xiaoping's thoughts, the Green Ox's voice sounded, Xiaojin, Tanminglu and Chong Xiaoqian are currently in the Classic of Mountains and Seas world. Oh, why are they back in the Classic of Mountains and Seas world? Didn't they plan to go somewhere else to play? Xiaoping asked doubtfully. Well, it seems like they ran for a distance. After walking a street, they felt very tired and didn't want to go anywhere else to play, so they returned to the Classic of Mountains and Seas world to play games. The Green Ox explained, they said that there's nothing much to go shopping. They wander around the King's Canyon every day going to all kinds of shopping malls and buying all kinds of game equipment. They're tired of it. Traveling is also very boring. They often go to all kinds of game worlds and can see the world without going out. They can also go through the history of various dynasties. There's no need to run around at all. As for delicacies, there's everything in the classic of mountains and seas world. There are all kinds of delicacies and exotic plants that can't be found in the outside world. Xiaoping was speechless. These little guys were really otaku girls. They ran out of strength after a few steps. This time, if it wasn't for going out to fight netizens, they might not go out for the rest of their lives. Boom, at the thought of this, he swept out with his divine senses and instantly enveloped the entire world of the classic of mountains and seas. He immediately sensed that Tan Menglu, Chong Xiaoqin, Xiaojin, and the others were gathered together. There were also the 5 Lolas from the Gaia race from before. Even the gates of hell were in the same place. It seemed like they had been abducted. At this moment, Tan Menglu, Chong Xiaoqin, Xiaojin, and the 5 Lolas from the Gaia race were gathered together. Xiaomin had accidentally barged into this canyon. Hey, you look unfamiliar. Little girl, are you new here? Tan Menglu immediately noticed the small door and found it unfamiliar. What? A newcomer? Why aren't you coming to pay your respects to me? Don't you know that I'm the king of this place? Are you not giving me face by not paying me a visit? Chong Xiaoqin jumped out with her hands on her hips and looked at the small door with a ferocious expression. I'm lost. Sorry, I'll leave now. Seeing these two people who were like bullies, the small door was almost scared to tears. Why was this place so dangerous? It seemed like she had barged into an incredible place. To be honest, she was stunned when she first arrived at this canyon. These people looked like they hadn't slept for a month. They all had dark circles under their eyes. The negative aura on their bodies was even more terrifying than that of evil spirits. The smell of corruption was even more terrifying than that of demons. She instinctively didn't want to have anything to do with these terrifying creatures. She immediately wanted to break into a run. But she only ran 3 steps before she started to pant. There was no helping it. Her body was too weak, and her athletic ability was severely lacking. You want to run away after coming here? You don't give me any face at all. What do you think this place is? You can come and go as you please. Chong Xiaoqin was extremely relaxed. She lifted the small door with one hand as if she was lifting a little chick. Tell me, who are you? What's your name? Tan Menglu interrogated. I'm the gates of hell. My name is Xiaomin. Don't eat me. I don't taste good. The small door was so scared that she started crying. Gates of hell? What a domineering nickname. The 5 little Lolas from the Gaia race were instantly interested. They looked at the small door curiously. No wonder the word door is carved on your forehead. I thought you were some evil person. Chong Xiaoqin was enlightened. You are the evil person. The small door cursed in her heart. Anyone with eyes could tell who was a good person and who was a bad person. Forget it. I don't care what door you are. Are you here to play games? Tan Menglu patted the small door's shoulder and revealed a devilish smile. Seeing such a smile, Chong Xiaoqin couldn't help but shiver. Back then she had been tricked like this and couldn't escape even now. Games? Why do I want to play games? Are games bad people? The small door blinked her eyes to express her confusion. She had no concept of games at all because all her memories had disappeared. This? The group was speechless. They didn't know how to explain this point. Right, games need bad people. Bad people who don't listen to us. So we have to beat them up frequently. Beat them up once a day, 24 hours a day. Tan Menglu said. Beat them up when they don't listen? The small door was so frightened that her body trembled. Right, beat them up when they don't listen. Right, are you obedient or disobedient? Tan Menglu casually asked. Yes, of course I am obedient. Who can be more obedient than me? The small door immediately shivered and expressed that she wasn't a bad person. It's good that you are obedient. Since that's the case, let's play games together. Only then can we prove that you are a good person. Those who beat up bad people are good people. We are comrades. Understand? Tan Menglu patted the small door's shoulder in satisfaction. I understand. I will work hard to play games and strive to be a good person. The small door nodded her head repeatedly. It's over, it's over. This fellow is completely finished. Another one has been corrupted. Chong Xiaoqin pitted the small door. Back then she was young and ignorant. She was led into a trap by the demon Tan Menglu. From then on, she walked on this path of no return. Even now she couldn't turn back. When she saw the small door, it was like she saw a lost lamb being led into a trap. From then on she couldn't escape. Chapter 2808. These guys. Seeing this scene, Xiaoping was instantly speechless. These internet addicts were really hopeless. They wanted to pull anyone they saw into their group as if they were preaching. However, it was not a big deal to let little Gate play games. At least she could get to know this world as long as she did not overdo it. Alright, there were also the 5 Gaia Lolas. Originally, he had planned to use the power of the 5 Gaia Lolas to find the legendary Gaia Paradise based on the karma lines on them. However, these Lolas seemed to be planning on staying in the classic of mountains and seas world. They were completely holed up in this place, and it was unknown when they would return to Gaia Paradise. And he could not use force on them, so he could only wait. However, according to the personalities of these Gaia otakus, he would probably have to wait until the end of time. Forget it, let's increase Little Gold's strength first. Thinking of this, Xiaoping ignored Tan Minglu and the other internet addicts. He sent a voice transmission to the golden slime. Little Gold, come over. I have something to discuss with you. Yes, it's Master's voice. Master's looking for me. Little Gold immediately sensed Xiaoping's voice transmission, and she immediately put down the game. A Little Gold, where are you going? Aren't you going to game? Tan Minglu and Chong Xiaoqian looked at Little Gold curiously. I'm not playing anymore. Master's looking for me. Little Gold's figure flashed and soon disappeared from this place. Oh no, Little Gold ran away. What about our team battle? Without Little Gold, we can't beat those cheats, Chong Xiaoqian shouted. Hee, what a joke. So what if they cheats? I don't believe we can't deal with those cheats with just our skills. We don't need the power of paywalls, the Gaia Lolas shouted. But the power of paywalls is very terrifying. Little Gold reported them once and all their accounts were banned. We reported them dozens of times but they ignored us. The red-haired Lola said weakly. Shut up. Don't be corrupted by the power of money. Game elites like us cannot be captives of game money. The golden Lolas clenched her fists. That's right. We can't top up a single cent. We can't let the game company earn a single cent. We'll play for nothing until they go bankrupt. Otherwise we'll lose, the black-haired Lolas shouted. But we don't have money. We can't even top up. The green-haired Loli blinked. Shut up. If you don't know how to speak, then don't speak. Isn't it better to be a mute? The group of Lolas was angered half to death. They glared angrily at the green-haired Lolita. This fellow really touched a sore spot. Why was her words so infuriating? Forget it, let's not fight a group battle today. Let's let that group of trash go. Today we need to nurture a new battle power. Tan Menglu patted Little Gate's shoulder and shouted. Little Gate was dumbfounded. He did not know what these bullies who were scarier than demons were talking about. Whoosh. Not long after, Xiao Jin arrived in front of Xiaoping. This was the central palace of the 33 levels of the classic of mountains and seas world. It was also where Xiaoping cultivated in seclusion. At the same time, this place was also Xiaoping's treasury. It contained the treasures he had plundered from various places, including the divine artifact fragments he had seized from the Abyss treasury. Master. Xiao Jin blinked and looked at Xiaoping. Good. You probably haven't evolved in a long time. Now there's some good stuff for you to eat. I guarantee that you'll be very satisfied. Xiaoping pulled Xiao Jin to the deepest part of the treasury. Immediately, the treasury shone with endless golden light. Every divine artifact fragment was filled with powerful sharpness. They even contained traces of divinity. This is a divine artifact fragment? Xiao Jin's eyes widened. She immediately recognized what it was. Her breathing quickened. Even though she had seen countless treasures, divine artifact fragments were still one of the most precious treasures. This was because divine artifact fragments were not things that could be bought with money. They were fragments formed from broken divine artifacts. Only invincible saints had the right to obtain them. Other saints were extremely lucky to have one. It was impossible for them to have many. But now, there were so many god artifact fragments in this place. This was simply unimaginable. It was really an eye-opener for her. She looked at her master, Xiaoping, in admiration. With so many divine artifact fragments, he was probably as rich as a country. No, not only could he be as rich as a country, even the treasury of a peak race might not have so many divine artifact fragments. Are they all mine? Xiao Jin looked at Xiaoping. Yes, they're all yours. Eat as much as you can. You have to become the strongest as soon as possible. Xiaoping nodded. Okay. With Xiaoping's permission, Xiaojin went forward and took out pieces of divine artifact fragments from the ground. She placed them in her mouth and swallowed them in one gulp. Crunch, crunch. It was as if she was eating chocolate. Pieces of divine artifact fragments entered her stomach. Then she stopped after eating a total of 108 divine artifact fragments. Master, I'm full. Xiaojin touched her stomach and felt an unprecedented sense of fullness. Powerful divine power was brewing in the depths of her body, flowing into every corner and cell of her body. Even the power of the laws of the divine artifact fragments were all absorbed by the golden slime's body. It seemed to be completely integrated into her body. You're full? Xiaoping raised his eyebrows. He didn't expect Xiaojin to be full after eating only 108 divine artifact fragments. Previously, Xiaojin's appetite was endless. But thinking about it carefully, this was very normal. After all, these were divine artifact fragments, the true essence of gods. The divine power and the power of laws contained in the materials were not comparable to other materials. Just one divine artifact fragment was priceless. It was unknown how many tons of other materials it was equivalent to. The energy of just one fragment was estimated to be equivalent to the energy of a great thousand world. And Xiaojin had eaten a total of 108 divine artifact fragments, which was equivalent to the energy of 108 great thousand worlds. This majestic energy was enough to fill any sage to death. Only a special creature in the universe like Xiaojin could devour and digest so much majestic energy. This was already a miracle. Since ancient times, no golden slime had the opportunity to devour so many divine artifact fragments. If other sages were to find out about this, they would definitely scold Xiaoping for being a prodigal. This was too extravagant. So many divine artifact fragments were eaten by the golden slime alone. If these divine artifact fragments were used for refining and integrated into a divine artifact, it would definitely allow a peerless divine artifact to possess the power of a divine artifact, erupting with world-shaking combat power. Chapter 2809. Rumble. In the blink of an eye, after Little Gold swallowed these divine artifact fragments, it seemed that the golden slime's special ability took effect and quickly digested these divine artifact fragments. The energy of these divine artifact fragments fused into Little Gold's body at a speed visible to the naked eye. Her power was also rising steadily, as if every cell in her body had integrated with a trace of divinity, or even a large amount of divine power. She vaguely emitted the aura of a divine artifact, producing a strange Tao rhythm. Whoosh, with Little Gold's body as the center, a huge energy vortex was produced, forming a golden sphere with a diameter of hundreds of kilometers, all condensed from powerful divine power. Even looking from afar, one could feel the terrifying divine power fluctuation, as if it was distorting this space. At this moment, Little Gold's body was surrounded by this golden energy, and every cell in her body was greedily devouring this golden energy, causing the power of the golden slime's main body to continuously increase. It seemed that at this moment her body was emitting waves of immortal aura. This is incredible, she can even devour and digest the divine artifact fragments. At this moment the black ox flew over. After seeing Xiaojin devour the 108 god artifact fragments, it immediately sighed emotionally. Its eyes lit up and it was extremely excited and amazed. It originally thought that the divine artifact fragments contained immortal characteristics, and even the golden slime would find it difficult to digest. In fact, if it were an ordinary golden slime, it might really not be able to devour the divine artifact fragments. It would treat them as indigestible things, and there would be no changes even if it was eaten, and it would spit them out. But Little Gold was different. After Xiaoping's extremely extravagant training, and even integrated with a trace of Xiaoping's golden crow of hell bloodline, her talent had reached the highest level, and she could be said to be the strongest among the slime race since ancient times. In particular, her body's digestive ability had integrated with the destructive characteristics of the golden crow of hell's flames, making her digestive ability thousands of times stronger than other golden slime. Even her stomach would be burned by the golden crow of hell's flames. It was also because of this that Little Gold could devour and refine these divine artifact fragments so easily. Or if it were other golden slime, even if they obtained so many divine artifact fragments, it would probably be difficult for them to devour and refine them. They could only treat them as useless things, and they would never be able to enhance their own power. Indeed, after devouring these divine artifact fragments, there was no rejection reaction at all. She devoured and digested them all and completely assimilated all the power. This is an incredible ability. Corinne also flew over, incomparably emotional. What it was most amazed at was the golden slime's ability to assimilate and fuse. After all, there were so many divine artifact fragments, and every divine artifact fragment had different abilities. If he were to forcefully fuse them together, it would cause the different powers within his body to clash, which was a great taboo. For example, a water-type sacred artifact could only devour water-type ores, not fire-type ores. Otherwise, it would cause a conflict between the two attributes. However, due to the special ability of the golden slimes, they were able to assimilate almost all objects in the world. Even if they devoured different god equipment fragments, they would be able to assimilate them perfectly and gain complete control over them. There would not be any conflict of attributes. This was also an ability that countless sacred artifacts would feel envious of. Possessing this ability meant that it possessed limitless growth potential. No matter what kind of treasure it devoured, it would be able to strengthen itself. Oh, that's right, if the divine tool fragment fuses with your body, can it enhance your strength? Xiaoping's heart moved as he looked at Azure Ox and Corinne. If they could increase their strength at the same time, it would naturally be a great thing. Of course, it can increase our power. However, doing so will ruin our chances of leveling up to the divine tier. Azure Ox said in a deep voice. That's right. Although a peerless sacred artifact can fuse with a divine tool fragment, and can even take advantage of this opportunity to possess a part of the might of a divine tool and display a power far beyond that of an ordinary peerless sacred artifact. Corinne also shook his head and said, but in this way the level of this divine tool is basically fixed. The growth potential of this peerless sacred artifact will no longer be able to make the peerless sacred artifact undergo a thorough transformation. So that's how it is. Xiaoping nodded his head. He understood what Azure Ox and Corinne were saying. Although a divine tool fragment could enhance the power of a sacred artifact, if a sacred artifact wants to transform into a divine tool, every part of its body must be perfect and flawless. At the same time, it must undergo a transformation, and every part must possess immortal characteristics. However, if a sacred artifact fuses with a divine tool, this imperfection would be destroyed, and it would be completely fixed within the scope of this divine tool fragment, and there would be no way to break through. This was like obtaining the inheritance of a demon god, but it would no longer be able to break through the limits of this demon god. It would forever only be able to reach the highest level that this demon god could possess. And this was also a huge flaw. Of course, many sacred artifacts don't have any chance to be promoted to the level of a divine tool. Therefore, fusing with a divine tool fragment and possessing a part of the power of a divine tool is also an excellent choice. Azure Ox said. Xiaoping nodded his head. This was indeed the case. Not every sacred artifact had the opportunity to be promoted to a sacred artifact. In fact, the vast majority of sacred artifacts didn't have such an opportunity. In that case, it was better to fuse with a divine tool fragment to enhance the power of the main body. In fact, many sacred artifacts in the universe also did this. After fusing with a divine tool fragment, they could display extraordinary power, which was called a half-step divine tool. This was a magic weapon above a peerless sacred artifact, but it was inferior to a true divine tool. However, Azure Ox and Corinne were naturally unwilling to sacrifice their future just to enhance a part of the power. This was a short-sighted behavior, and the gains did not make up for the losses. Moreover, this kind of divine tool fragment fusion also had a huge flaw, and that is, it couldn't be used too many times. After all, the power of a divine tool fragment was really too great. Whether it was the power or the material itself, it was not something that an ordinary sacred artifact could compare with. If used too many times, the power of the divine tool fragment would shatter the material of the sacred artifact itself. Simply put, the sacred artifact wouldn't be able to withstand the power of the divine tool fragment. Perhaps it didn't matter once or twice, but thousands of times or even hundreds of thousands of times. After accumulating for a long time, the sacred artifact itself would suffer countless injuries, producing numerous cracks. When it reached its limit, the sacred artifact would completely collapse and crack like glass. It seems that the divine tool fragment still can't be casually fused. Forcibly fusing magic weapons that are not of the same level together is probably a big taboo in refining magic weapons. But how long will it take for Xiao Jin's evolution to end? Xiaoping said. At this rate it will take at least 7 days. Azure Ox and Corinne carefully calculated the time. Chapter 28:10. 7 days later. Rumble just at this moment, the huge golden sphere that had wrapped around Xiaojin in the center of the square began to tremble violently and buzz. The vibration seemed to cause the frequency of the void to change. It was as if the entire world of the 33 heavens was shaking. Dong. In an instant, the huge golden sphere shone brightly and pierced through the golden sphere. The sphere was riddled with holes and shattered like a glass ball. With a few cracking sounds, these condensed energy fragments fell to the ground, creating a deep pit. Then Little Gold's figure suddenly appeared in this square. Is the transformation complete? Xia Ping, who had been cultivating, immediately came out. With a flash, he arrived near the central square and happened to see Little Gold walking out of the golden sphere. At that moment, Little Gold emitted an extremely powerful power that shook the 33 heavens. Even the world of the classic of mountains and seas could not withstand this terrifying aura. Whoosh, she stood where she was, and the golden energy fragments on the ground immediately turned into golden liquid. As if they were alive, they quickly fused with Little Gold's body. Not a single drop was wasted. Her power was also increasing at a geometrical rate. Vaguely, her body was emitting traces of immortal characteristics, as if she had a huge amount of divine power. At the same time, dense nomological veins appeared in her body. They seemed to be engraved with hundreds of perfect nomological laws, and there were even many special Great Tao nomological laws. It was because Little Gold had such a nomological origin in her body that she could easily communicate with the universe's origin and unleash incredible power. She has already advanced to the level of a peerless sacred artifact. Xia Ping was immediately amazed. He could sense the immense power that Little Gold contained. It seemed that even he might not be able to match up to Little Gold's current power. Little Gold could probably easily contend with primordial saints. It could even wrestle with invincible saints. This speed of evolution was simply too fast. It was practically leapfrogging. However, this was how golden slimes evolved. They were not like humans who needed to comprehend some nomological laws. They only needed to devour various special ores and materials to quickly advance. However, this also had a huge drawback, and that was that it was extremely reliant on resources. Without enough resources, it would be impossible to advance in this lifetime. It could be said that raising a golden slime was very costly, and not something an ordinary family could afford. No, it is not just a peerless sacred artifact, it is already a half-step divine artifact. It is only a step away from advancing to the divine artifact rank. Corinne and Azure Ox also moved upon hearing the news. At this moment, they were extremely excited as they looked at Goldie, who had just broken out of its shell. This was because in their eyes, Xiaojin's existence was simply a miracle. It was the path for Xiaojin to advance from a supreme saint artifact to a god artifact. If Little Gold could level up, then they might be able to find their own way to level up to a divine artifact. Master. At this time Little Gold opened her eyes. She had a pair of golden eyes, and the depths of her pupils seemed to be engraved with dense nomological patterns, as though they contained endless nomological mysteries. Whoosh. In the next second, she transformed into a 3-feet-long golden sword with dense nomological patterns on it. It instantly flew above Xia Ping's right hand. Ha! In an instant, Xia Ping immediately sensed a huge amount of magical power information being instilled into him by this golden sword. They were all the magical powers that the golden slime had obtained after advancing. Previously, the golden slime had 11 kinds of magical powers, which were myriad changes, swallow everything, earth body, invincible, earthquake, instant recovery, devour soul, mighty thunderbolt, heavenly crystal body, absolute space, and the last sea god authority. The power of these 11 magical powers had increased by several levels and had undergone a huge transformation. However, in addition to this, she had 2 more magical powers, increasing the number of magical powers to 13. Magical power number 12. Space-time sword formation. As long as the power of the golden slime is stimulated, it can split into billions of golden flying swords, and countless golden flying swords will form a huge sword formation. Once the sword formation is unleashed, it will form a sword Dao domain that can instantly confine spacetime. The enemy in the domain will immediately suffer a devastating blow and penetrate everything. Magical power number 13, God-slaying power. This is a special kind of power that was born from 108 pieces of divine artifact fragments. It devoured the special energy of the divine artifact of destruction. Using this power, it can even slay gods. What? Xia Ping's eyes lit up. He could feel the power of the golden slime at the moment. It was a huge improvement that far exceeded his imagination. especially the two new divine abilities, each of which was incomparably powerful. Among them, the god-slaying power made him feel a terrifying power brewing. Because according to the golden slime's senses, this power was actually attached to the divine artifact fragments, and not something that the divine artifact fragments themselves could possess. And the reason why the divine artifact had shattered was because of this destructive power. Even after countless eras, this destructive power was still attached to the divine artifact fragments. Of course, this destructive power was very weak and it was almost undetectable. Only a special creature like the golden slime could assimilate all kinds of energy, and even assimilate this destructive power, making it its own. In the end, it gave birth to the god-slaying power. You must be joking. Can this power really slay gods? Xiaoping narrowed his eyes. He could indeed sense that the golden longsword contained a terrifying, destructive energy. However, the energy was too weak and it was only a trace. This power could probably only support him for one strike. After that strike, it would probably take a long time for this strand of god-slaying power to recover. Even so, this was still a trump card that could play an incredible role at critical moments. However, he could not verify if this power could really slay gods. After all, there were no gods that he had killed yet. This was like creating a dragon saber, only to find out that the true dragons in the world had long gone extinct, and there was no way to kill them even if he wanted to. Although I can't kill gods, I wonder if it can kill invincible saints. Xiaoping's heart skipped a beat. If the golden slime had devoured the divine artifact fragments and obtained this power, it might have been able to slash the 3 demigod angels. If this power could kill gods, then killing demigods would probably not be a problem. Interesting. What is this power that can destroy divine artifacts and kill gods? Xiaoping was very curious, but he knew that the golden slime had assimilated an incredible power. Sogu website. Chapter 28:11. Another few days passed. Xiaoping finally understood Xiao Jin's current power. It had indeed reached the level of a half-step divine artifact. It was only one step away from being comparable to a true divine artifact. Xiao Jin would probably be able to transform into a divine artifact with an opportunity, increasing its power countless times over. Even though it hadn't transformed yet, with the terrifying power of a half-step divine artifact and the use of god-slaying power, it still made its power extremely terrifying. It could be said that the devouring of the divine artifact fragment was very successful, allowing Xiao Jin to advance to a new level. Since everything has been arranged, it seems that I'll have to find a place to cultivate and continue increasing my power. Xiaoping touched his chin. His current power was considered quite good. He could protect himself from the attacks of an invincible saint with his own power alone. He could even use the power of a divine artifact to heavily injure his enemies. Even so, it was still difficult for him to kill an invincible saint. After all, invincible saints were not that easy to kill. Their ability to survive could be said to be unparalleled in the universe. Although many invincible saints had fallen in the intense war of the primordial era, a considerable number of them had survived. Moreover, they were the main force standing on the front lines. From this, one could see the invincible saint's ability to survive. As such, he had to continue increasing his power. Otherwise, there was no guarantee that no accidents would happen in the future. Most importantly, there was the great enemy of the angel race. That mysterious master still made him unable to eat or sleep in peace. It seemed that if he did not keep his guard up, he might be ambushed by the angel race. Master. At this moment, Luna's voice was heard. What's wrong, Luna? Xiaoping narrowed his eyes. He knew that Luna, who was in hell, would not contact him if nothing happened. Something big must have happened in hell. There's a problem in the burning hell. A large number of demons are attacking the burning hell. There are many primordial demons among them. Luna's voice was heard. Luna's voice could be heard, but her voice was still very calm. To her, losing the burning hell wasn't a big deal. However, the burning hell was her home. She could not let other demons occupy it so easily. What's going on? Xiaoping frowned. He remembered that after the attack of the void monsters, there shouldn't be many powerful demons around the Green Lotus Hell. Normally speaking, no demon would attack a medium hell plane like the burning hell. After all, the hell of the Green Lotus was a high-level hellish plane, and was in the process of evolving into a demon god plane. It was huge and there wasn't enough time to just take over the hell of the Green Lotus. How could there be any powerful fiend devils invading the burning hell? It's like this. Then Luna told him everything that had happened in the Blue Lotus Hell. I see. Upon hearing Luna's words, Xiaoping immediately knew what had happened. Ever since he'd left Hell, the Hell of the Green Lotus had undergone tremendous changes. Word of what had happened in the Hell of the Green Lotus had quickly spread to many of the nearby high-level hell planes. This also attracted the interest of many high-level evil demons. They sent powerful evil demons to the Green Lotus Hell in an attempt to seize a large portion of the Green Lotus Hell. There were even demigod-level demons in the Hell of the Green Lotus. Although they had run away out of fear of the void monsters, they had returned after hearing that the Hell of the Green Lotus was fine. However, there was no way the evil demons that had just taken over the territory would give it to the evil demons that had originally occupied the territory. Hence, an extremely intense battle broke out between the new and old evil demon overlords. Even demigod-level evil demons fought each other. The battle was extremely intense. Fortunately, the Hell of the Green Lotus was extremely powerful. Even if demigod-level evil demons attacked, they wouldn't be able to harm the Hell of the Green Lotus at all. Every inch of the Hell of the Green Lotus territory was extremely sturdy. After the demigod-level evil demons dueled, they ended up in a draw. In order to avoid further damage, both sides would be injured, and the other evil demons would take advantage of them. Hence, they agreed that demigod-level evil demons wouldn't interfere. They would use their own subordinates to determine the victor. Then, they would decide who could occupy more territory in the Hell of the Green Lotus. Therefore, the fiends of the countless mid-level and low-level hell planes near the Hell of Green Lotus were out of luck. They were all captured by the fiend gods' organizations and forced to join their own organizations. After all, the faction that had more evil demons would have a higher chance of winning. The mid-level hell plane, the Burning Hell, was naturally targeted. Hence, the evil demon factions launched a large-scale attack as if they were capturing slaves. They attempted to capture more evil demons in the Burning Hell. Interesting. They actually dare to attack the Burning Hell. They really don't know what's good for them. Xiaoping's eyes revealed a hint of coldness. To be honest, the Burning Hell was extremely important. This was because the void passageway that connected the modern universe and Hell was above the Burning Hell. If the Burning Hell was taken away by other evil demons, wouldn't that mean that the passageway to enter Hell was in the hands of other evil demons? This was something he couldn't tolerate. Of course, if he wasn't strong enough, he would think of other ways and endure for now. However, with his current strength, there was no need for him to endure. If they dared to come, he would just kill them and eradicate them. There was no need to reason with those evil demons. When will they start attacking the Burning Hell? Xiaoping asked. Because we received the news late, they will probably start attacking tomorrow, Luna said. I understand. If they want to fight, then let's fight and keep them in the Burning Hell. Xiaoping clenched his fists. He happened to be lacking a large number of rare fruits and fertilizer for the World Tree. These evil demons actually dared to attack him. They really didn't know how to write the word death. Half a day later, Xiaoping directly passed through the void passageway and arrived at the Burning Hell. Returning to Hell once again, he could smell the smell of sulfur in the surroundings. It was a feeling that he hadn't felt for a long time. The golden crow of Hell bloodline in his body was stirring. It was as if every cell of the golden crow of Hell was breathing, swallowing the source energy of Hell. After advancing to the immemorial realm, he felt that his understanding of Hell's source energy had become deeper. Master. At this moment, Luna appeared in front of Xiaoping. She emitted a powerful dark aura that seemed to distort the void and corrode this space-time region. Seems like you've improved a lot recently. Xiaoping could sense Luna's current strength. After not seeing her for a period of time, she had actually advanced to the ancient sage realm. Clearly, she had already grasped the law of creation. Such strength had improved by leaps and bounds. During this period of time, with the help of the war with the demigod evil demons, Luna had probably devoured the power of countless evil demons. 2K Reading Network. Chapter 28:12. My lord. A large number of elite demons appeared behind Luna. They were all Xiaoping's dependents. Affected by the infernal golden crow's bloodline, they were forcibly transformed into the demon god's dependents. Their strength also increased by leaps and bounds. Each of them was ferocious. Their bodies were filled with the terrifying power of flames. It was as if their blood was burning. Clearly, the strength of these demons had also increased rapidly during this period of time. Moreover, the increase in strength and the influence of the bloodline had caused the temperament of these demons to undergo earth-shattering changes. If it were the demons from before, they would have packed their bags and prepared to run when they heard that a demigod demon faction was planning to attack the burning hell. But now, not only did they not have any intention of running, but they were also extremely fanatical and fearless. Each of them wanted to fight to the death with a terrifying flame burning in the depths of their hearts. "Luna, what's the background of the enemy?" Xiaoping asked. He didn't ask in detail before, so he wanted to know the general situation. "The enemy is the demigod demon Felipe's demon army. There are more than 10 million of them, but Felipe didn't come this time. Instead, it's his lord-level demons, namely the primordial demon Cameron and the other demons." Luna knew the information like the back of her hand. It said that there are a total of 49 primordial demons attacking the burning hell this time, led by the primordial demon Cameron. The reason why they sent so many of them is to make sure nothing goes wrong. They want to sweep through the many medium hell planes and capture all the demons as slaves. Speaking up to here, she paused and continued. "This Cameron isn't a big deal. The problem is that if we kill Cameron and the other primordial demons, their leader, the demigod demon Felipe, will probably come personally." She was only worried about the demigod demon Felipe. The other demons weren't a threat. "It doesn't matter. Even if that demigod demon Felipe comes personally, I'll kill him." Xiaoping clenched his fists. Murderous. Rumble. At this moment, the entire burning hell shook violently as if it had encountered a huge impact. The boundary outside the burning hell seemed to have been hit by a powerful force, causing a huge earthquake that shook back and forth. "Those demons are coming ahead of time," Luna said in a low voice, a fierce glint in her eyes. "Yes, let's go meet them." Xiaoping was expressionless. Under the perception of his divine sense, a dense horde of demons had appeared outside the burning hell. Their numbers had reached tens of millions, and it was like an army pressing down on the border. Among them, there were 49 primordial demons, and they were scattered all over the place, unscrupulously exuding the tyrannical aura of a world domain. It seemed as if the tyrannical power of the world domain was fiercely colliding with the burning hell. Fortunately, Xiaoping had modified the burning hell previously. He had set up a series of restrictive formations, forming a huge spatial barrier that had a certain degree of defensive power. Otherwise, this group of evil demons would have rushed up to kill, burn, and plunder during the collision just now. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. In an instant, Xiaoping, Luna, and the many burning abyss devils around them flickered and appeared outside the burning hell spatial barrier. They faced the abyss devil army from afar, and their auras clashed fiercely. "Are you the demon lords of this middle hell plane? My name is Cameron and I'm a demon lord under Felipe. I'm here on Lord Felipe's orders to recruit you to fight for the great Felipe." The primordial demon Cameron roared angrily and looked down at Xiaoping and the others. "Now, I order you to quickly open the spatial barrier of this hell plane so that our army can enter unimpeded and unharmed. If you obstruct us even a little, you'll definitely die without a burial. You'll have to weigh the consequences yourself." There was a hint of ferocity in his eyes, and he ordered Xiaoping as if he was ordering his subordinates. Rumble. At this moment, tens of millions of evil demons appeared behind him, and each of them exuded an aura that distorted the void. The terrifying demonic aura filled the void of hell, forming an absolute domain. All of them were glaring at the burning hell with murderous intent and bloodshot eyes. They seemed to be drooling over the burning hell and couldn't wait to enter the burning hell to burn, kill, and plunder. They were only waiting for the order from their leader. "What? So what if I don't open the barrier? What can you do to me?" Xiaoping looked indifferently at the group of evil demons. He was very calm and there were no ripples in his heart. "Impudent." To the side, an ancient demon angrily shouted, "What kind of attitude is that? What kind of tone is that? You dare to speak to Sir Cameron in such a manner? What kind of propriety is this? Hurry up and kneel down, kowtow 3 times and kowtow 9 times, and beg for Sir Cameron's forgiveness." Scram. "This is the burning hell, my territory. I advise you to hurry up and leave. Don't make me angry or you won't have a good ending." Xiaoping tried to dissuade them. "Big-headed." Another evil demon flew into a rage. "And you're courting death. Do you know that? I gave you a chance to live like a dog but you didn't cherish it. You actually dare to resist? You're courting death. Lord Cameron, don't waste words with this brat. He's refusing a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Let's take advantage of this opportunity to kill the chicken to scare the monkey. Slaughter all the fiends in the burning hell. Let's set an example for the fiends of the infernal plane. This is the result of trying to resist our fiend army." That's right. These country bumpkins won't shed tears until they see the coffin. If we don't kill them all, they won't know our name. The numerous evil demons seethed with killing intent as they glared at Xia Ping. They felt as if their dignity had been greatly insulted. A puny country bumpkin dared to resist their army? Even dared to show them disdain. If this wasn't an insult, then what was? If they didn't kill this troublemaker, then wouldn't the rest of the Hell Plane resist even more fiercely? How were they supposed to complete Lord Cameron's mission? Their killing intent soared, and they were ready to kill the chicken to scare the monkey. Slaughter all the evil demons in this Hell Plane. Capture the leaders and behead them as a warning to the rest of the world. Killing intent surged from the primordial demon Cameron. The void of hell around him was suddenly filled with killing intent. The heavens and earth turned upside down as dragons and snakes rose from the ground. Sword come. Xia Ping made a grabbing motion, and a meter-long golden sword appeared in his right hand. Shockingly, Goldie had transformed into a golden sword that had traversed the void. With the golden sword in hand, a terrifying aura and power erupted from him, forming a sword domain that suppressed the entire Hell Plane. Third Sect Leader. Chapter 28-13. Space-Time Shackle. Xia Ping held the golden sword in his hand, and a powerful world domain power spread out. It was not just one world domain but 9 world domains. Rumble world after world came crashing down, covering hundreds of thousands of light-years of spacetime. In an instant, the Hell spacetime was completely shackled, and it was almost impossible to move. What? The expressions of the primordial demons, led by Carmelo, changed drastically. They sensed that the space-time they were in had been completely shackled, and even time seemed to have stopped. At the same time, they found that they could not use any power, and they could not even spread out their divine senses. They were completely shackled in this area. Impossible, we are primordial demons. How can we be shackled so easily? Carmelo and the other primordial demons found it hard to believe that such a thing could happen. If even the primordial demons were in such a state, there was no need to mention the other demons. Even their minds had stopped working and they had no idea what was happening. Only the immemorial fiends were able to break free from the shackles, but that was all they could do. However, it was only natural that Xia Ping could do such a thing. The world domain he had was already far beyond that of primordial saints of the same level. Even primordial saints could not compare to it, not to mention that he had 9 world domains. The power of these 9 world domains stacked together was not as simple as 1 plus 1. It could easily shackle spacetime in an instant, and primordial saints could not break free at all. Vanish. Xia Ping had no interest in explaining anything to these demons. He circulated the world power in his body and infused it into the golden sword, immediately activating the Supreme Sword Dao Divine Ability, Spacetime Sword Array. In an instant, the golden sword immediately split into billions of tiny golden flying swords, forming a terrifying sword array. Countless sword chi spread out, covering the Hell spacetime. In the next second, the spacetime sword array moved. Swish, swish, swish. Hundreds of millions of golden sword chi blasted out, seemingly flying out from the cracks in spacetime. They were indestructible and contained terrifying sword Dao power. Each sword chi could pierce through spacetime. Arg. Immediately, Carmelo and the other primordial demons were unable to even struggle. Their bodies were immediately pierced through, and the terrifying sword chi instantly obliterated their souls. Moreover, it wasn't just the primordial demons. Many of the demons that had been dispatched this time couldn't escape the spacetime sword chi's wrath. All of them were minced into dregs and not even their bones were left. Boom! Immediately, all the demons that invaded the burning hell were annihilated. Countless corpses of demons floated in the hell's void, like a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. Too strong, Sir Lord is so strong that it makes one's hair stand on end. He destroyed the invading primordial demon with a single sword strike. Just what kind of martial power is this? As expected of the Lord with the demon god's bloodline. We followed the right boss. When the devils of the burning hell saw this, all of them were amazed. Although they did not run away in fear when facing the enemy, they were more or less clueless. Even if they fought, there would definitely be a large number of casualties. But now, without expending a single soldier, they actually annihilated this group of invading demons, and it was truly beyond their expectations. All of them were extremely excited, feeling that they had followed the right boss. Although they already knew that devils with the demon god's bloodline would definitely stand at the peak of hell. But they didn't expect that they would obtain such strength so quickly. As expected of Master. Luna looked at Xiaoping with admiration. However, she also felt that it was natural. No one knew her master's strength better than her. These puny devils couldn't be compared to him at all. Stop pretending to be dead. Stand up. Xiaoping stood with his hands behind his back, calmly looking at the primordial demon lying quietly in the pile of corpses. Because the invading devils weren't completely annihilated, there was still one primordial demon that hadn't died. In fact, Xiaoping had purposely left it alive. His goal was to let it go back and inform him. Spare me, spare my life. This matter has nothing to do with me. It really has nothing to do with me. Hearing this, the primordial demon shivered. Knowing that it couldn't hide it anymore, it hurriedly jumped up. When it saw that all of its companions had died, it was immediately scared out of its wits. Its entire body couldn't stop trembling in fear. At this moment, the primordial demon knelt in the void, begging for mercy and crying bitterly. Now it was simply regretting its actions. If it had known earlier, it wouldn't have followed Camaro out. Before they even started to sweep through the medium plane of hell, the army that it sent out this time was annihilated. What a miserable and unlucky thing this was. Don't worry, I won't kill you. Xiaoping stood with his hands behind his back and looked at the primordial demon indifferently. I have another use for you. I want you to go back and tell Felipe not to send more devils to invade my burning hell. Otherwise, I'll kill every devil I see. Even Felipe will be slaughtered. What? Hearing this, the primordial demon jerked its head up and looked at Xiaoping in disbelief. Was this guy completely crazy? He actually dared to provoke Demon Felipe. Who didn't know that Demon Felipe was a demigod devil? Even in a high-level plane of hell, he was a king-level devil. He was a peerless expert that reigned over trillions of devils and controlled the lives and deaths of countless devils. But this guy actually dared to provoke Felipe. If this wasn't courting death, then what was? It couldn't believe that this kid actually dared to speak to Felipe in such a tone. What are you looking at? Hurry up and scram. Do you want to die? Xiaoping narrowed his eyes and looked at the primordial demon. His body emitted a faint murderous aura. He didn't conceal it at all. It was as if he would kill the primordial demon if it didn't leave. I'll leave now. I'll leave now. Feeling the dense murderous aura, the primordial demon no longer acted arrogantly. It immediately shivered and hurriedly ran away. But even so, it looked back 3 times with every step it took. It was afraid that Lin Fan was lying to it and would kill it from a distance while it wasn't paying attention. In fact, there were quite a number of devils with such a bad taste. On the surface, it seemed as if they had let the other party go. But in reality, when they let the other party go, they would ruthlessly kill the other party. It was all for the sake of seeing the other party's expression change from hope to despair. But after it fled far away, it realized that Xiaoping still hadn't made a move. Immediately, it believed Xiaoping's words and sped up to escape from the burning hell. In the blink of an eye, it had left this extremely dangerous place. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.